Phil was making adjustments, fine-tuning it so that we get an excellent quality show going here. I want to tell you tonight, folks, I have a very good friend of mine, Gary Yanagihara. He's also my savior. Anytime I come back from a fishing trip and have a really good fishing trip, he is a part of the equation because somebody has to put my back in and make the adjustments. He's unbelievable chiropractor, Gary. I can't say enough. But not only a chiropractor, he's a fisherman and tremendous fishing history, that has gone through skippers and events, people in his shop, in their practice. And those are some of the things we're going to talk about. And I think Gary probably helped him out later with working out to keep us from killing ourselves.
Well, part of Danny, he catches all the big fish. Then when his back's still hurting, he keeps fishing.
Yeah, just stupid. What can I say?
But he's a true fisherman.
But honest to goodness, I mean, I can't tell you how many times over that. How many years? My God, we've been.
Yeah, well,
it's been a long, long time from the 70s.
Yeah,
when we moved out.
Yeah, I think when your dad came in to see my dad.
Yeah.
That's a long time ago.
My God, unbelievable. But ever since, and then like I said, my brother's still running boats, and he's constantly coming back up from San Diego, get adjustments. So it's pretty crucial.
He was just in last month.
We talked to somebody not too long ago. Another skipper, Tom Durr, called in. He did the adjustments for him, but I mean, they go back. Your dad did Lee Palm?
Yeah, Lee Palm and Linda Palm. Yeah, so it goes way back. I think they were from Southgate originally, where my office is at. So that's why they're
amazing.
Next.
Amazing.
Phil wants to go next.
And then the other, weren't you guys across the street from the Salases?
Yep, like Marty.
There
Salas.
you go. There's another one.
And Marty was he was a good friend of mine. I used to go over there and hang out with him, and talk to him, and then I always bartered with him. So I could free adjustment.
True fisherman.
And he'd bring on a big old
7X's,
sack of jigs.
6X juniors.
I got so many Salas jigs, I don't even know what to do with them.
Oh, good.
Yeah, but a lot of people, and then Bobby Yoshihiro from the old Thunderbird, he was coming in. And Robin now, she's my patient.
Yeah.
I've known her since she was a little kid.
Yeah.
And a lot of people somehow my dad seemed to attract a lot of the sport fishing industry. I don't know how, but he was
word of mouth.
He was just so good.
You guys had a great reputation. That was the biggest thing.
We fixed a lot of people, and it's been a pleasure.
In fact, I think I ran into Bobby's older brother, Kira, one time at your office, and
Yeah.
they lived a block away from us.
Oh, is that right?
They were on
okay.
Murfield. We were on West Boulevard, back
Okay.
in the old Crenshaw neighborhood.
Yeah, then I see the whole Yoshihiro family.
Yeah.
So
All fishermen.
So is your last name Yanagihara?
Yes.
Do I have that right?
You do.
How do you think I know that?
How?
Your daughter Emily is saying hello to you tonight. There
That's awesome.
Hi, Emily.
Yeah, how's that pronunciation? Terrible?
Oh, that's good.
Oh, was it okay?
Yep.
I find with Japanese, if I pronounce using Spanish vowels, it comes out right all the time, it seems like. So I don't know why.
Well, actually, you're right. A lot of the vowels are pronounced like in Spanish.
Yeah.
The A, E, A, U.
O, U.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Tommy Tar, Danny and Phil, what is your best, and of course, we'll throw it your way. What is your best, you two guys, eating fish? How do you like it cooked or not cooked?
Gary, go ahead and start.
Yeah,
you can
Gary.
start. Yeah.
Actually, my favorite fish to eat is white sea bass. I love it. It's got that pure white meat, real flaky. And I just put it on the barbecue. One thing about white sea bass, don't overdress it. I just put a little pepper, a little garlic on it, and it's great. That's my favorite.
Mine is close to that. It's called a paqueta. It's a grouper that we get in deep water down in Mexico, and oh my God, the flavor on that. And we grill that, but yeah. There's so much. I guess there's enough fat in it where you grill it, when the oil burns off on the barbecue, it just it's unbelievable. That's one of my favorite fish. Yeah, and cabria, I like cabria too.
Yeah, actually, we had cabria at your house. That was really good.
Yeah, cabria's good stuff.
Danny's
good.
He knows how to prepare fish.
We've been around it a little bit, but oddly enough, when I was a kid, I didn't eat it. My grandparents ate fish every night, and could could have to do with their longevity, you know, and over the years we have gravitated to eat more and more fish. In fact, Gail's family, even the Thai, you know, their family's from Ischia, which is a little island outside Naples, right? So they ate seafood. They actually ate more seafood than we did at one point, you know. But yeah, I'm starting to catch up with it now, and I so no, it's a good deal, good deal. But yep, your history, Gary. I mean, like I said, like with Salas being right there. I mean, just getting inundated with fishermen.
In fact, most people don't know he used to make those jigs with sand molds, the old-fashioned way. I used to watch. He had one guy, Ignacio, working. He does everything. Yeah, I mean, I think his brother took over now. Marty's brother took over, so he gets all that stuff stamped out now. But Ignacio's the one that does all the ringing and the hooking and the painting. Yeah, that guy's been doing that forever. I mean, but yeah,
He's still there?
He's still there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It's been ages.
Yeah, but that's. I mean, he makes a jig that works, you know. Yeah, so, but like I said, Marty was like my friend. He was a sword fisherman. He wasn't really a sport fishing guy. Yeah, but sword fishing was his thing. He was a stick boat operator. But then he referred all his buddies in because Marty's, I think, one of his hobbies was going out to the desert and doing all that desert stuff. So all these people came in. But a lot of them are commercial fishermen. There's one guy, Glenn, I think he's still commercial fishing, tuna in Hawaii and such. But yeah, he's still pretty active in that. And then the other guy, Leon, he's a retired sword fisherman too, stick boat fisherman. But yeah, we have quite a bit of the fishing industry coming in.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
That is pretty awesome.
Do you see injuries that are more common with fishermen
Actually,
or not?
remember the old days where those long range guys always used the harness? They got hurt. But now since they're using the rail and the equipment's a lot better, I think I see less of it now. Yeah, I get more like tennis elbow syndromes from the winding, and then some people they get back injuries or they fall, they get knee injuries, but less now than as before.
You know, I didn't realize that you're right though. Yeah, because we are using the rail, we're using the right angles.
Yeah.
You know, we're not doing this, we're not hyperextending
Yeah.
much because if you have it under your arm and on the rail, I mean, you're going to get maximum pressure at that angle anyway.
Yeah, it's just,
you know, keeping it down
just
there.
proper
I mean,
ergonomics. I mean, one thing about fishermen, we get stuck in the heat of the moment. I do. I was like, oh, that's not right. I have to correct myself. I have to do it the right way because you'll get hurt. These fish are big and
yeah,
they're strong.
it's a whole different game.
Yeah, but
Whole different game now.
But one thing I did know is one chart I go on every year. This one gentleman, he's always got a left-handed reel. And I always thought all the years, I finally asked him, what, are you lefty? He goes, no, I'm a righty, but I got way more strength on the right side. And I wind with my left. And ergonomically, it makes so much more sense. So I built your jig stick that you had, your rods, and I bought a left-handed reel. And I've been working with it. I'm finally getting used to the motion winding on my left side.
That does
Really?
make sense, in a way.
Well, you know, it does. But I think, aren't you limited on manufacturers that make the models in left hand?
That's the problem.
I mean, I was going to say I've always felt for guys
Yeah,
that were left-handed. It was
Yeah,
tough.
but this guy on the boat, man, he catches more big fish and he whips them like a 20 minutes. I mean, he's got a 200-pounder on.
Wow.
This guy, he's a fish killer. But he says I got way more advantage on my right side.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So I've been doing it wrong the whole time. Never going to learn. Yeah.
But I was looking at maybe bringing my own, develop my own YouTube video on proper ergonomics for fishing.
Well, there
Oh
you
my
go.
God,
Here,
yeah.
we got it right here.
Yeah.
Here, we got the blanks. Here's our rail. You know.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, because a lot of times I'm fishing, I like to observe other anglers, see what they're doing. Because I'm an okay fisherman. I'm not the best, but I had to learn from other people. But I like to look at their body mechanics, what they're doing. But I see what they're doing wrong, and I'd like to come with a video trying to retrain some of these people, try and use their ergonomics better. So when they're fighting a bigger fish, they could probably outlast the fish.
So, without giving away, I would love to do that with you and Danny, by the way. But are you supposed to stand up erect, straight up, or
Yeah,
what do you see that most people do wrong?
Well, they're leaning over too far. Yeah, that curvature in our lumbar spine is a forward curvature, and that develops strength in your body. But once we start to bend forward just a little bit, that first 15, 20 degrees is critical. I mean, once you get past that point, you're good. I don't know the way the mechanics are, but most injuries occur in that first 15 to 20 degrees.
So when you see the guys
yeah, doing that.
pinned,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nothing to do. Maybe we should be doing with the. I've been watching the slow pitch jigging guys. Now they're pulling rather than high sticking it.
Right. Which, Danny, you're a big advocate of.
Yeah, well, at my age now,
Yeah.
it stays on the rail.
Oh yeah.
I use the rail. I have to use it, and I use the angle, keeping the angle down because that's where we're getting the maximum pressure off of it.
Yeah, but so I was trying to postulate. Maybe you could fill in them for me. But I thought maybe when the fish goes way out, we pull, wind, pull.
Oh yeah,
wind.
no, yeah,
When it's straight up and down,
pull.
you can use
Straight pull, yeah.
Yeah, you use the rail.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you can pull hooks that way or.
You know what? I think when you have a big fish and you're challenged by your line size and your hooks and everything. Phil saw me last year, about almost a
My
year ago.
hero.
Well, on the Freedom. But when you're using light tackle and big fish, you basically have to say, you know what, I'm going to either get them or I'm going to break them off. If you're staying on them a long time, right? If you try playing them like you normally do, you're going to end up sawing through it. It's going to cut through your line.
Yeah.
There's going to be something that's going to happen. And so I mastered the point where I actually straightened out hooks to the point where I had to use 4X hooks. But basically, again, almost pointing it and just coming straight back.
Oh, okay.
And that's where that's one of the very few times our short height gives us an advantage.
It does,
we're
doesn't it?
right there, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I see the big tall guys. It's tough because when they get hunched over, like
Yeah.
you said, they'll probably come and seeing you.
And that's when
because-
fatigue sets in. They have a hard time fighting a big fish if it's going to be a long battle. And so I always thought maybe proper ergonomics help them a little bit. They can get a little more time on the fish without getting fatigued.
That's a great point.
This is a great
about the
topic,
angles.
you guys. I
Absolutely.
love this whole thing.
Well, that's how many of these guys, how many of us, especially at like my age, because I've got quite a few years on you,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I'll be 63.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna be 70. But
I'm
I
right
feel
in the middle of you
it. I
two.
feel it. Yeah, you go. So pulling the proper way,
Yeah.
and utilizing the rail now, which is, in the old days it was kind of taboo to put it on the rail.
Yeah.
Now, I'll tell you, you're crazy if you don't use it.
Kind of taboo.
Yeah.
I mean, you got called every name in the book,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
Not anymore.
David Rosenthal says, hello to everybody. Bone Crusher sends us lots of hearts. And Brittany Yangihara
That's my
says, "Hi, Dad."
daughter.
Brittany, thanks for being here. Emily, thanks for being here. Your dad is a super good guy. By the way, I'm yelling over here because I don't have a mic, so I'm,
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I'm not angry
No
at you
problem.
guys or anything like that. So
Yeah,
I got a question for both you guys. Because I don't think I've ever been injured fighting a fish. I know it happens a lot. And I am by far, I'm not Macho Man. I'm not a weightlifter. I've got, if I do a contest with the girls, who has the softest hands, I win every time. So have either one of you two guys been injured fighting a fish?
I haven't been injured, but I've felt fatigue. And I felt it the next day. Normally, when you injure yourself, you don't feel it right then and there.
Yeah.
You'll feel it the following day. Then it's like, oh, I did something wrong.
I've done the same thing, but I'm dumb enough to go back out the next day and just fish as hard, maybe even harder.
Yeah, but
I don't learn.
Well, the more experienced angler too, they know how to fight a fish. They have to do it all the time.
Yeah, you learn to tweak everything just right to where you've got that advantage whether you're standing straight up and not flag. You could feel it.
Yeah, you can.
So
You're straining yourself. I mean, you probably want to hurt to work out a little bit before the season too. Work out those rhomboids, those pullbacks, and maybe work out your biceps. So you want to simulate some way you're doing with a pole. Maybe get some of those bands and just come like this. Work that out a little bit. Try and get stronger. You're trying to build endurance and strength. So, but yeah, you can do a little workout. Probably would help some people.
There you go.
All right, a couple
Okay.
questions here. Robert Graber, good evening. You guys got any intel on that Channel Island bluefin tuna? I just know that it's bouncing around up there, Danny. They see a lot, they don't catch a lot. There's some awfully nasty weather just outside of there. Actually, if you look, it's from above San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
Down, it's
Yeah,
nasty,
yeah,
30, 40
yeah.
knots. So.
Yeah. Oh, we keep joking. We, who knows, man? We may get some of that albacore blown down this way.
Yeah,
Who knows?
nice.
The season's not over, folks.
Yeah.
No,
It's not over
by
till
one
the fat
shot.
lady sings.
There's-
But I think we're gonna have a great fall. I honestly
noticed-
believe we're
I
gonna.
think it's a little breezy offshore, so a lot of boys stayed closer to the border and stuff. And there was some huge yellowfin scores today. I've already
Yeah,
seen.
and the quality is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Quality is phenomenal. All that. So
51
it's not gonna-
Soriano. Good
That's
evening,
awesome.
gentlemen. I'm happy to see you guys always bringing really valuable and informative content. Gary, Danny, good job, man. These guys love you. Amber Yangihara.
That's my wife.
I figured that.
The boss.
Can I make a plea to the Yangihara clan right now? If all of you guys subscribe to the channel, I'll be really happy tonight.
There's a lot of us too, so we can help you
I
out.
know. Hit that subscribe button. Give us a like, everybody. Thanks for all the likes. Peter Cepeda, I hooked a 60-pound bluefin on 25-pound last week that kicked my butt. So there you go. There's a guy saying that, he got fatigued on a fish.
Oh yeah, that's why maybe you're in a little bit of shape. Maybe those tuna, these bluefin, they're tough. What can I
Yeah,
say?
on 25, that's a good.
Yeah,
That's a good deal too.
that
That's
is.
a nice shot. Congratulations on that, because it's work. It's work, but it really is. And Peter, I got to tell you, it has to do with the rod angles too. If you're high sticking and stuff, and you're getting less pressure from up here than you are when you're keeping it down at a lower angle, you'll find that too. And hopefully, you implemented that too, is keeping it down, below 90 degrees. It puts a strain on the hook, it puts a strain on your knot and on your line. But as far as lifting power, you're going to get maximum pressure when you're down from 30 degrees, 45 degrees on down. So, to get 100% of it, it's a straight pull, but then you have no flex other than your mono or whatever it is that gives in your drags. But yeah, the more you have your rod angle down, the more pressure you're getting on it. So
Well, that's the one thing I noticed too when the fishers doing those deep circles. It seems like the deckhand's always trying to keep your rod straight out. I guess they're trying to keep it tighter circles. Is that what they're trying to do?
I think and keep it from scraping on the
cut-
boat underneath in case
Oh.
it circles under
yeah,
the
cut
boat.
the diameter too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cut that diameter. But that has to do with the pressure you're putting and the tighter your stroke, the
Oh.
quicker your stroke too. You can keep that thing going. And I like it. Keep telling people is be cognizant of the swell and everything. Make sure you're watching the swells. As you're holding going up, and make sure you're going down fast so the fish never gets a chance to get his head down, because they get their head down, they kick. They're taking line on you.
Oh,
So if you're constantly keeping that thing planed up, every time they kick, they're going to kick at you, and that's going to shorten your fight more than anything.
One thing I see that I think is a problem with mostly novice anglers is when your fish is making a run, that's the time to kind of relax. There's nothing and I see guys fight that, like pull back, and novice guys that like, hey, this is my break time. Once you see the rod go up, then you start putting the screws to the fish. But during that time, the fish is at its ultimate power. It's pulling really hard. And then if you get involved in that battle, instead of, hey, just take it easy, let it do its thing, and then get back on it again, I think that's a good way to get injured, maybe, Gary.
Yeah, it could be, because what's going to happen is it's going to pull you forward. This is natural momentum, and so that's going to cause some injury. But yeah, I see a lot of people do that. It's a mistake. They try and pull on a running fish, but especially those the nighttime fishing. Those fish are big. Oh my!
Absolutely.
Yep,
Whitehead
yep.
117 says, hell yeah. I'm not sure what hell yeah is for, but we'll just say it's for Gary and Danny. Hell yeah! Hey, 51 Soriano, if I remember right, that's Adonis Soriano, because I did feature him this morning on the morning briefing. He says, thank you, that was so cool. Hey, thank you for catching those fish and providing some great content, Adonis. He was not expecting that, and he was watching the morning briefing and got a thrill. Hey, it's me who should be thanking you, and I am doing that. 310 Rodworks.
Hey, Darren.
Darren.
Hey, Darren.
Darren,
Hi, Gary, Danny, and of course, Phil. Thank you for taking the time to educate all of us. Can you guys talk about short stroke technique and how we can benefit from it today? Darren, great to see you, my friend. Go ahead, boys.
Go ahead. You do your take first.
Well, short stroking is much easier than the long stroke. You're pulling your arm back so far, and you're going to lose a lot of power. But by short stroking, you're keeping the power right in front of you. And so that's why the fish come in a little bit faster. So it's to your benefit to learn how to short stroke. Just a little bit, and Danny could tell you the technique on that more than I can.
Well, the reason too, and the keeping it down low and keeping it at maximum pressure too, is when you are short stroking it, it tightens the radius. And as a skipper and crew member on a boat, right, the last thing you want is a fish to swing wide, and that's where you get these big lifts, and these guys get the big circles on the fish, and they'll start tangling other anglers. And when you got a boat that's completely bendo, you want that short stroke to keep the radius down too, and that's going to keep them in a tighter circle, And also be cognizant. One of the most important things is watching the swell. Time it with the swell on the boat. So many people get tunnel vision about just looking at different things, but focus on how the boat's going up and down, and time it with the swell. So you never have any slack in your line, and once you have that fish planed up, as long as you keep that pressure on him, and his head's pointed up, he's going to kick up. So it's a matter of just keeping up with the stroke, and you want them to kick themselves right to the boat. So that's a big part of it, Darren. Thank you for that. We do benefit from it. It cuts the fight. Yeah,
It is the fight.
and of course have a rod that's built for you, and that's Darren's forte.
Yeah,
it's perfect.
right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and
Nobody
he'll
better.
tell you how to exactly.
Not a nicer guy around here.
Not at all.
Love
Yep.
Have you guys fished together? You have
Oh,
a
yeah.
memorable
We
trip
have.
that you guys were both on together?
Yeah, we did that one on the Turkey Geisha. Remember the albacore trip?
Was that 9/11? Was that the 9/11 one? Was that one after?
I don't know. It was
We've had a few, I think, right?
Yeah, we have.
But yeah, we've
I
had.
still remember fishing was a little slow. And I remember you popping your anchovy in there, and no one else was hooked up, and you hooked up, and Danny gets so excited. He goes, "They're here!" I go, "There goes Danny again." He's fun to fish with.
Let's see. Hey, I was worried because we got Monday Night Football tonight, so sounds like the Green Bay Packers forgot to play tonight. That's what Isaac says. So he's over here. I think he's a big Packer fan. I'm glad you guys are real. What great information. David Petroli says, what a difference technology makes. That is for sure.
Absolutely.
Isaac throws us $20. How's that, man? He's appreciating the show so much.
Thank you, Isaac.
Remind me to split that with you two later. And Adonis Soriano says, yeah, that's me, Adonis Soriano. It's great to have you here with us. Really, really great. Go Packers, says Tyler Tanaka. I don't even know who they're playing now. Who are they playing? Do you guys know? You guys follow pro football?
Yeah, I don't know who they're playing.
I hung it up years ago.
Yeah,
I don't know
I know.
why. Yeah, it's weird.
At the risk
As
of
much as
angering anybody out
Yeah.
there, there's my team right there. I watch my football on Saturday. Okay? The Irish. Now, what can I tell you, man? I went to Catholic school. The priest from the pulpit used to say, you will go to hell if you don't root for Notre Dame. So, okay, I'm all in. So, this is really interesting because this whole idea about, let me ask you this question. You get injured fighting a fish. You're on a $4,000 long range trip. You're a little sore, let's say. Do you keep going?
Well,
Or you want to blow $4,000 on? I mean,
yeah, you might want to rest it, ice it, do the end sage, just to stretch it out a little bit. That'd be a good idea to rest it a little bit. But you can still fish if you're fishing for smaller species, but like long range, they're going after bigger fish usually. But typically you use the rest, the ice, sometimes compression, but that's why everyone should bring a little Advil or ibuprofen on the boat.
Yeah. Make sure you have that for sure.
I would go on 2-day trips. I still bring it. You just never know.
so is it ice, heat, or just ice? Or?
Ice.
Okay.
Yeah. Anytime you injure your body, your muscles, it's inflammatory. So you got to get the inflammation down. You'll feel much better.
All right, perfect. That sounds good to me. They are playing the Lions tonight, and the Packers are losing bad. Glad I did put a bet on that game. Amber, again, is that your wife or daughter?
That's my wife.
What's your favorite boat to fish on? Both you guys. I think Danny would be the American angler. I
Yeah,
might be wrong,
absolutely.
but-
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's
I
it.
like long range boats too. I'll get a chance to do it, but for local boats, I fish on the Thunderbird. Yeah, I like that.
That's
boat.
the new Thunderbird?
Yeah, the
That's
new
a
one.
beautiful boat. I have never fished on it, but I've seen it from afar.
Yeah, the
Well,
boat
I
is-
saw him when we were out there, Phil.
Yeah.
At Clemente and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, the
on that
captain
tour.
Jeff, he's amazing.
Beautiful boat. Yeah.
So, we just had a conversation with a captain here a moment ago about how important the crews are. Is it the boat itself, or is it the crew?
What's the crew too?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the crew's really good on that boat. I mean, I think any of those guys could work a long range, no problem. They've boated so many big fish on that boat. And Captain Jeff, he seems to go after all the big fish, and he has a knack for finding them. So, but I have good luck on the Thunderbird.
And I can't let you get away without talking at great length about Goofy.
Oh, Goofy, yeah, the cook. He's hilarious. And he cooks really good, but also he's one of the best deckhands around too. In fact, my biggest fish was on that boat. It was a 240. He's the one that helped me catch that fish.
Wow.
Yep,
That's
so,
awesome.
Yeah, he's really
That's
good.
awesome. Yeah,
Adonis Soriano just threw us a $20 bill. Adonis, you have no idea how much we appreciate that. Thank you so much. Affirmation that this is a great
Yes.
show tonight. Peter
Hey.
Cepeda fished the True Line 3 weeks ago. Had a good stop on 50 to 100 pound. Bluefin tuna wasn't wide open, but a good plunker bite. But one of our friends had the hot stick and caught 12 fish on 60-pound fly line. Had a good time. Man, that is cranked
That's good
up.
fishing.
That's a heck of a score.
That's good fishing.
On that grade of fish?
Yes.
Man.
Excellent.
Okay, and they are playing Detroit. From Montana, PNS Harnjack. Great to see you, Patrick and Sarah. Thank you, Danny, for all your information and techniques over the past few months. I can honestly say I caught more fish and caught them because of your information.
Well, you're welcome. I mean, you know what? One thing that's neat about fishing is the information never stops and the learning never stops. And I've told myself this, and I hold myself to this too, is if I can't learn something new every time I go out fishing, I'm not looking hard enough because there's always something there.
Yeah.
So by the time you keep compiling all this information in that little computer upstairs, and you get to a situation, and you look back and you think, okay, I've seen this situation before. This is what I did. I dropped down the lighter line or a smaller hook. There's a progression of things that you do, and you follow, to make it work, and you keep trying, and that's what it's doing. I mean, I had that. One of the biggest challenges of my life last year that I put on myself, because I was with 30 skippers on the Freedom. So, I was analyzing things and maybe overanalyzing, but I think I finally analyzed it by luck. I did it right. But, I went to a very short top shot with fluorocarbon, with Spectra, with 20 pound, and thinking, okay, I'm going to get bit instant because these guys are all using straight mono. They're getting bit on the mono. And Phil can remember.
Wow.
And I'm going, okay, wait, I'm out casting them. My bait's outside of everybody's. I'm not getting bit. They see my Spectra. So I go to a little longer length on my 25. Still wasn't long enough. And I go, forget it. I went to my 30, which had fluorocarbon, to a longer shot of mono, and then Spectra. And thank God I got bit on the 30 because they were all the bigger fish. But going through that progression, and you're going to find that anytime you go on your fishing trips or something doesn't work, you keep making adaptations. This one, by luck, because I started hanging straight bigger fish,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't even had a chance.
So when you prepare for a trip, do you have like a game plan? Like for what are you going to do? I mean,
I bring backup stuff just in case, but that game plan changes. Seems like it could change from day to day.
Yeah.
And I saw that even running boats. Yeah, I mean, when you're dialed in, you're running a boat and you're out every day, you can pick up any rods, and you just fire it on your bit, boom, hook and hand and hook and hand. And we did that with company groups. But, just being out there every day, reading the water and watching the way the fish are reacting, it's making those adjustments.
Yeah.
And it's the guy that makes those adjustments, the guys that's watching. So it's always good. If you're not getting bit, and you see somebody getting bit consistently, I'm going to tell you, it's generally not luck. This guy is doing something, whether it's the placement of where his hook's going in, the size of the hook, the line, the fluorocarbon length. I mean, it could be any number of things.
That's true, because I was on an old albacore trip, and this fisherman, he was just yanking in fish left and right. Finally, I put the side, I go, what are you doing? He's using a Carolina rig. I go, what? What's that? I didn't even know what that was. So he gave me this little plastic thing, put my sliding sinker
stopper.
on there, a stopper, and sure enough, and he gave me extra one, so I gave one to my buddy. We started scoring. But it's just being observant what other people
Yeah.
are doing.
That's it.
100%,
That's
right?
exactly it. That's
Yeah.
exactly it. It's not by luck.
No.
For some reason, that's the way the presentation they want, and it's watching and see. So if you're not getting bit, yeah, watch the guy that's getting bit, because there's probably something that he's doing.
Yeah.
Bait placement, wherever you're putting your hook, you know.
So
I
where
did-
do you like to put your bait?
Well, you
Hook
know,
on the bait.
it's changed. I've done everything with the sardine. I mean, you depending on the situation, you go from a nose to a butt hook and everything else. On that Freedom trick, it was a back hook.
Oh,
And for years, I never used much of a back hook. But boy, I'll tell you what, I'm sold on it now, because even on a trip I did recently with Joe Russo, everything was back hooked.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
I had
Where
Nice
exactly
percentage.
do you hook it in the back?
you could hook it in a number of different places. Right at the fin, right at the dorsal, behind it. Actually, I've hooked some right in it, because I figured the bone structure will hold the hook in there better, and I seem to work. And I think maybe, and this is what my head's processing is, because the line is going on the back and the line's more out of the water because it's up higher, rather than if it's on the butt section, it's down below. It might be easier for the bluefin, especially bluefin folks. They got the best eyes in the business.
yeah, they
So, if you have the line, and even regardless if it's fluorocarbon or mono, if it's going underneath, it's trailing, they could see it, or it may inhibit the tail
do.
too.
Plus, they probably can't see the hook either, right?
That's the other thing. Yeah, it's up on top.
Wow.
So there's a lot of things, and it seems to have been, I never back took a lot before. I am doing it more and more because of that.
I gotta try that.
Yeah.
All right, hey everybody, give us a like if you would. Please tick the bell. You'll be notified when there's new content after you subscribe. Don't forget you can follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Apple Podcast, Spotify. We are there for you 24/7. Wethead 117 with a southern drawl. I got to do this. Did you see that? Y'all ever cook the fish you catch same day? Hey, where are you from, by the way? Unless I'm messing around. And that's the only way to do it, right? At least
It
the
is
second
great.
day.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hey, you want it fresh. Although I've seen some of these guys going into this dry aging thing, even with sashimi now.
Oh, really?
So I actually have some yellowfin in the fridge. I don't know if I'm doing it right, but we're gonna try it.
These are like
We'll know if we start
fish
gagging.
jerky, right?
Yeah.
All right, Isaac says, any thoughts on this late season water temperature? Do you think it's going to hold? And then Peter Cepeda said, hey, it dropped 3 degrees last night, which is pretty common when you get wind, right?
Wind will do that.
So what do you think?
It's just surface temp. It's surface temp. When you go down, you'll be able to tell it's going to be a little different. But
You think it'll hold up, the warm water?
you know what?
You don't
Even
think
if
it's important? 'cause you're just gonna get
even
other
if it
species.
doesn't, because you got bluefin up in Oregon now, and albacore up there. As that water transitions down, we may just see those fish coming down here.
Yeah.
And especially with the amount of chovy down here, we might see albacore. Who knows? We may see it in December. But I mean, they could take the
Because
cooler
by the time
water.
they come down here, they'll be 70 pounds.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There'll be those.
Remember that one year?
1984, where we got those
Yep.
big ones in the channel here.
Then when
So,
they went up, they came back
that's right.
down.
That's right.
Things were-
So, exactly. History hopefully will repeat itself.
I
That'd be
know.
great. Yeah.
That would be great. Patrick Harnjack says, Danny, I agree with you. 100% customer service on the American Angler was above and beyond. Fantastic.
Well, there's not too many boats that when you come on the boat, they're calling you, the crew is calling you by your first name. It takes a lot of dedication to do that. It's not easy. There's boats I've been on. I don't want to name any boats, but there's boats I've been on for several days where they could care less. It's a hey you type deal, and you don't get that on the American Angler.
I
And
know customer service is everything.
Oh,
I have a
absolutely.
business, and
absolutely,
I try to develop a personal relationship with all my patients. It goes a long ways.
Absolutely.
it
Yeah.
does. Well, and
So,
it carries through with the reputations, so
yeah.
that's a huge deal.
You know, I walked into the Starbucks at Target over in Carson today. I was meeting my wife over there.
Yeah.
I go in there pretty much once a week and buy a coffee. And this kid, I mean, she's probably 25. I walk up and she says, "Hi, Philip, how you doing?" Out of all the people that she sees, I'm going, that is very impressive. Really impressive.
That is, yeah.
Of course, I had to leave a nice tip, you know.
Well,
Yeah.
And
I mean, and
because that shows,
some effort,
yeah.
extra effort that they go through, and well rewarded for,
Your
that's
wife is Emily, right?
No, that's my daughter.
Your daughter just threw us $20. Man, I am
All right.
going to Vegas.
She's probably going to ask for
Emily, thank
an
you.
advance in allowance, Gary, when you get home.
I'll put
Emily, I love
You
you.
need
I
an
love
allowance.
Emily.
I'm gonna have to Venmo her back. That's what's gonna happen.
Hey, Emily, if your dad's going to Venmo, can you make that 100?
That's right.
All right,
Oh,
let's see what
God.
else we got on here. Whoops, I went a little too far. Man, we got a lot of questions for you two guys. Isaac, Ethan, Michael, Dan are going on a 2-day trip in 2 weeks. Want to end on a high note, but we are fishing together already winning. So it's about not the catching, it's about the adventure, the friendship.
Absolutely,
all of that, right?
that's always a
You
big
two
part
guys
of
are
it.
evidence of that.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, how many years?
I know.
We go back. Yeah.
All right, Peter Cepeda, when is the best time to throw 30 and 40 pound at the tuna when they are 40 pound and bigger? And I think it goes to what Gary talked about, observing. But go ahead, take that.
Well, no, that's exactly it. I mean, you got to watch because, I got to tell you, the last thing you want to do is fire a light line, and you get into a big fish, and you're hung on a big fish, and in your head, do I break it off? Well, if you break it off, a lot of times that fish you break off takes a certain takes other fish with it as it takes off, so it dissipates the school in time if you continue to do that. But offering yourself, it's much easier to throw heavier line. If you don't get bit, you always scale down. You can always scale down.
So
You
when
can't scale up once
when
you're
the-
bit because
when-
you're hung on this
So when
thing.
the boat stops, you use heavy right at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you
okay.
could look, you could see, and if they're boiling around, yeah, I'm going to throw the heaviest line I can catch them
Yeah.
on.
Well, you don't even know what's underneath there either.
Yeah. I mean,
bigger-
if you see the big boils, yeah, I wouldn't. I'd put the 20 and 25 and even 30 away. I mean, had I known there were some of those bigger units around last year on the Freedom, I probably wouldn't have even thrown the 30. But and it was funny because they would not eat the 40, typical bluefin. So when you're getting these 60 to 100 pound fish,
Yeah.
eating only 30, that's work.
Yeah.
It's work.
Well, I remember one time you
Trust me.
came in years ago. You were on your brother's boat, the Outer Limits, and you caught a 90-pound bluefin on 30.
Yeah, and that one killed me too.
I know.
Because the tackle was different then too. We didn't have the 2-speeds.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that thing did a number on me, and I was younger and better shape, and it still killed me.
Yep, he was in the office after that.
Yeah, exactly. You're right.
It's funny. I don't know if you saw that short I put out, but old school Bill. I don't know. There's a guy on our last trip, no 2-speeds, no Spectra, and he did as good as anybody, but he was struggling a little bit, but it was great. And that video resonated probably with old timers or maybe new guys too that are like, whoa, you can catch them on that stuff, because it had 6,000 views in a matter of boom.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's still
yeah.
going, so it's pretty funny, man. They like that old school Bill landing these fish.
Well,
they got-
and good fishermen are good fishermen. That's not going
Yeah,
to change.
that's true.
Right? But when you have that little button, I'm going to tell you, that changes things.
Yeah, I know.
Well, a good example of that is, it was like 5 or 6 years ago. I was on the Thunderbird, and I gotta bring some of my old noodles and stuff. So we're hooking these. Oh, they're like 30, 40, 50-pound bluefin. I was getting schooled by these other guys because they were at better reels and better equipment. I mean, even Goofy said, "Come on, you gotta get that fish in there. That guy over there got 3, and you're still fighting this one." I go, "Oh yeah." After that, I went to redo all my equipment.
Well, right, the old noodles have drags about that. You look at the drag
Yeah.
system, you look at, and now for us, the equalizer is that button.
Oh yeah,
I mean, if I didn't had that button on that what was it, a Valiant 500 with the 30, there's no way I could have landed those fish on the Freedom either.
Yeah.
You know, but it's that and using straight graphite, so I'm getting a quicker recoil.
yeah.
But and it's putting it on the rail and angling it down. But I mean, that's
I think
otherwise
that's
I would have
why
been dead.
the new
Yeah.
technology, I see less injuries. Because they're more recoil to the
Yeah.
rod, and the reel's a 2-speed.
Exactly.
Makes a big
And for the
difference.
first time, Gary, in yours and my life, we have an advantage being short.
Yeah.
We're not bent over.
They're bent
When we're
over.
standing up, we can stand up straight. And
There's
it's under
Joe.
our arm. It's
right
perfect.
in the arm.
Hey guys, Tyler Tanaka says, is there a brand of finger tape that you like to use or recommend? Do you ever use finger tape? I've been using the Coflex brand for ages. You guys use it?
Yeah, the old blue tape. Yeah. Yeah, the
Is
flex
there a
tape.
particular brand? I don't even know.
Not
what
that I
it is.
know of, but you know, who was it? Was it, didn't Russ? I can't remember who was bringing that stuff out initially, but yeah, you need that.
Yep.
You need that tape, that flex
Another
tape.
tape that works pretty good too is KT tape.
There you,
They got some KT tape. It's a little more smaller in diameter, and it's waterproof. Yeah.
there you go.
Where do you get that, Gary?
Like Dick's Sporting Goods, Amazon, they all have that. You cut them. You just tear them in little strips. You can just wrap a couple of wraps around just where your knuckles.
I'm gonna have to
are
go get some of that.
Yeah,
Put it in the box.
Works
Yeah.
good too.
Awesome.
All right, Patrick Harncheck. Honestly, thank you, Danny. Rod angle for the win. I was able to land a 68-pound bluefin on 25-pound test, single speed, all because of angles. It was small hooks that were their special ticket to getting bit. This guy from Montana,
That's
he owes it to you, man.
Exactly what we did on that, you know, I did on the Freedom trip, you know, and you have to do what you got to do. But yeah, no, that's a great feat. You know, that's a heck of a fish
Yeah.
on 25, let me tell you. And a single speed. I cheated, I had a 2-speed. Well, you know, I'm older too, I'll bet, right?
All right, Peter Zepeda. I tried scoping the same day, and it was amazing. Freddie Holy Spirit Fire says he's going to buy us a third mic. Go for it, man. We could use that. Hey, we're going to upgrade everything here this winter. But for now, let's see here. Tyler Tanaka. He says, where is that? Let's see. Oh, he had the over-under bet. He said it only took Danny 34 minutes to mention albacore on the show.
It's not over yet, folks. You know, that cooler water coming down. And keep in mind, just going back historically, in 1984, those big albies that came in the channel, and like I said, my galley girl, France, still holds the world record, the 75-pounder on 20-pound.
Wow.
With Russ Iser. She was on the first string with him, and I put her on there as a deadhead. But she had a license, too. She had a captain's license. But Franny, that was a tremendous deal, and that was in late October. So we got a lot of time, folks. And there's chovies out there, so never
All right,
know.
Rick Slater. Danny, did you ever lose a bass bigger than your record?
Yeah, I did.
What is your record?
I did.
first of
Well,
all?
I got it. My first one was an 18 3/4. Then I got a 1904. But yeah, I did lose a bigger one because
We're talking freshwater bass.
freshwater bass. I lost one back at we called it Taka's Rock at Castaic in the back, and it was a 20.3 that croupier. My hook was in it, and you could tell because it was camouflaged line with a Miller nut. So I was the only one doing that. And he only fished those spots too, same spots. But I dumped that there a few weeks before. I dumped a good one at Vail, but that wasn't a 20-pounder. It was more in like the 18-pounder. I buttoned that right at the boat.
Yeah.
So I lost a few. I lost a few nice ones. Yeah.
All right, Peter, or I'm sorry, easy one, easy button for the win. Peter Cepeda, what is a good 25-pound rod seeker tuna? I have a 20 to 50, so it's smaller blank with high rating. Feels like the rod is soft, needs something with more backbone.
See, Will saying 670. I used to
there you go,
I used to
670.
670s back then when I was doing stuff with Leon. 870s, yeah. You know, I have 25 back and then. I think I even used like an 865 at one point. But But you know, now I'm fishing all straight graphites. My rods are very line specific. They're built, you know, I have them built for one line class and that's it. So
270.
Yeah.
278 is a great bait.
278, yeah. See,
I
There you
think
go,
it will
270.
from the El Patron
There you
is
go.
in here with us.
and he's out there every day, folks.
Peter Cepeda, go to the hospital. They have the best tape for fingers. I'm not going to the hospital. I get tape. Are you guys?
No.
Hey, Peter, you're probably right, man. When I was working in Central Services as a kid, I might have found a way to find some of that tape. But nowadays, I don't know. 540 Slinger, that is our friend Jeff Yeomans saying, good evening, Friedman Adventures family. So good stuff.
All right.
Man, I think
Hey, Jeff.
the whole thing with angles, Patrick Harnjack from Montana said it paid off big. I mean,
It is. That's what it's all about now. I mean, especially since using the rail is not taboo. It's just using your head now, especially as you're getting older. But you're getting that much more pressure at that lower angle. I'm telling you, people, when you see these guys high sticking, you drop off in pressure so much and you don't have control. And then what do you do there too? You're opening up the radius to a fish circling in much bigger radius, you know. And the circumference is going to be big. As if you're just turning the handle, keeping a short stroke, that circle that tuna's coming up is tightened up and it's spiraling up. And as long as that head's coming up, angled up, and it kicks, it's coming at you. It's just a
Yeah.
matter of you keeping up with the grind, you know.
One thing I always learned from Pat Kavanaugh years ago, when that fish is at 12 o'clock, it's coming back to the boat. So you better start winding before and just try and you can get 5-6 cranks in. Yep, so then when the fish was going that direction, Pat had me pull this direction and tighten up the circles, and I just kept winding up the slack. If I went that direction, I pulled this way. But that seemed to
Yeah.
work pretty good. I don't know if it worked. Does that work good for the big ones or not?
You know, I do. I try to keep the circling tight
Yeah,
as tight as I
tighter.
can, you know, keep
Yeah.
it up and down, almost pointing it nowadays,
Yeah.
you know. But especially when I'm fishing 100 pound, I'm pretty much pointing the rod.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
and on those bigger fish, you do control them better. I
Yeah.
think, you know, yeah.
all right, another question from our buddy Tyler Tanaka. Danny, did you ever catch any lunkers at Casitas or in the lower lagoon at Castaic? And what did you catch them on? Huddlestones.
No, I didn't. You know what? I didn't fish many of the big baits. You know, I was a crawdad guy because I was fishing more of the pre-spawn. You know I mean, there's nobody better than Butch. Butch Brown is the king. I mean, he is the most dedicated. Here's a guy that's got 4 boats set up at different lakes because California as a state is so stupid that they don't allow you to move and transfer boats. I mean, you know, I used to hop from Castaic. If the wind blew there, I'd go up 126, you'd stop at Piru, but usually shoot up to Casitas, dump it in the same day. I think I told that story to you, Phil, about Danny Sansom and John, you know, and it was the day that we all dumped in at Castaic, and Danny and John took off, and we took off, and I didn't see him the rest of the day. I go, where'd they go, you know? And I'm got the glasses out. I'm looking. I go, well, he's not in a cove, and I don't see him on any of the main points. I went over to the ski arm. I go, there's not too many spots that he fishes in the ski arm. I didn't see him. But about 3 o'clock, I see him coming back, and they had pulled the boat. They metered around, and this is something. Danny's up there. He lives up at Clear Lake now. I always told Danny, don't trust the meter. Fish the spot. Fish the spot. If the current's going right at that spot, fish the spot. But Danny would, if he didn't meter fish, he wouldn't stop. So they pulled out the Castaic, went up 126, went up to Castaic, okay, metered Castaic, never put the anchor down there, metered and metered, didn't see anything, pulled it out, came back to Castaic at 3 o'clock. I see him. I'm going, oh, God, he must have been hiding. I see him. So we go run up to Danny and John Collins, right? And I said, where'd you go? And John looks at me and goes, ask him. You know, he's Torre. John's a fisherman. He loves the fish. Well, Danny's he's an awesome captain and skipper. But we had different philosophies on that. You know, if he didn't meter the fish, he didn't stop generally, you know. And so anyway, they went from Castaic to Casitas back to Castaic.
Oh my god.
And that's when their bromance broke up and they quit fishing together. but, you know, they're both great fishermen. It's that we had different philosophies. I just didn't depend on my meter. Because there's sometimes I didn't meter anything. You anchor up and first cast, you nail the fish. So you just don't know, you know.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Danny, Peter wants to know, is graphite good for bait fishing or glass?
I use straight graphite for everything. I use it on where we're having straight graphite railroads made, you know. It's about the performance. It has to do with how, you know, even a straight graphite's not going to break if you're fishing it correctly. You know, if you're pulling it at those lower angles. And I'm going to guarantee you, it's going to recoil a lot faster than anything you've got. It's lighter. And so if it's lighter, let me ask you, here's a diving board analogy, folks. Here's something that you'll get. You have a fiberglass diving board. You know how heavy those are. I mean, a swimming pool, you jump on it, you get so much distance, and because of the way of the board, it's doing this before it could stop and recover at this state here, okay? If you made that same diving board out of graphite, you would jump, and because it's light, it would dampen faster. Well, not only is it dampening faster, but it's launching you further. So you're getting a further cast, you know. So I was lucky and blessed to be around, you know, Gary Loomis and the first graphites when we were implementing those into the industry. And I fished some of the early composites, even with Leon and all the guys down here too. I had all these experimental rods. But you know, the straight graphite, I gravitated to straight graphite for everything because of the performance part of it. For my freshwater bass fishing, my trout fishing, my fly fishing, every aspect of my fishing, I went to straight graphite. And saw that it depends on the way it's built. You know, you could build it, you know, to what is, you know, it's going to get the maximum recoil. It's going to get a longer cast. There's just so many, the attributes outweigh everything that glass has.
Yeah.
I think glass is durable. Big deal. I'm not into durability. I want to put the fish on the boat. Yeah, so it's about performance for me.
That's why most of the rods are composites now, right?
Yeah, you know, and that's why, you know, I did a lot of stuff with Leon CalStar, you know, when they were doing the graphiters and stuff like that. But, you know, and I started fishing the Loomis stuff, and he came to me and put me on the national fishing team with Gary. I got Gary to do straight graphite saltwater rods, and they're not for everybody. The guy that high sticks inadvertently, and if he blows it up, that's because he doesn't know how to fish. He's not understanding that you pull much, you get a quicker recoil, and you'll put that fish on so much quicker if you keep it at a lower angle. But that's something it's you know, you have to teach the guys and they learn it. But you know, it's not for everybody. If they're a high sticker, yeah, stay with your glass and your composite. But I guarantee you, you know, a straight graphite rod will put on a fish quicker. Just will. It's just recovery.
That can help your body.
Yeah, yeah. And it's lighter. It's comfortable.
It's lighter. Yeah.
All right, everybody, hit that like button. Come on. I don't want Gary and Danny to break into tears. I got to get up at least 100 likes. Steve Bermudez, is there a chance when fighting a big tuna on the rail of blacking out or getting dizzy? The case is what's he talking? Are you back in the tequila, Steve? Apparently there's a main artery under your armpit that may cause you to black out, or I have to kind of try to guess at what Steve is saying because he's into the El Patron tonight, it looks like to me. Can you black out? I'm sure that's a possibility.
It could. No. No, not normally.
Well, you have some comorbidities maybe, or you have some...
Yeah, I mean, if you got some you know, risk factors, that might be the case, but...
Or, you know what? If you drink too much tequila,
yeah.
not only can you not write a complete sentence, you might pass out on a big fish.
That's right.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Rick Slater, are the long-range boats preserving the fish better than they used to? Can you donate sport-caught fish?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely, yes and yes. The fish processing, oh my God, it's come so far from when I was running boats, you know. But the spiking, the bleeding, you know, what is it, the ikejime?
Ikejime, yeah.
Yeah, you know, the way you spike them, things like that. It's gone so much further, you know, but generally bleeding them and pulling and getting the guts out of them and stuff, you know, and cutting the gills out, you're gonna get a much better grade of fish. The problem is these fish are so big now, how much do you need? You know, and that's what I'm finding too. I mean, I used to kill everything. I mean, you know, it was ridiculous. And nowadays I start formulating, what is my processing bill? What is my processing bill going to be? And before we hit the dock, we tell the guys, you want fish? Come down and get it. Come down and get it when it comes off the boat. Get it nice and fresh. Basically, because that way we don't have to haul it back. We don't have to take all these huge ice chests that we used to load our rigs up with, you know. So
Well, how much are they charging per pound now?
I think it's up.
$65 to $1.85.
Yeah.
That's per rounded pound, 8-pound minimum.
All right, so go ahead and repeat that because nobody can hear Will.
Oh no, we'll say
$1.85,
buck
right?
85 on average.
Yeah.
And I think it's actually more than that in some places.
And they don't freeze fish unless it's longer than a 10-day trip.
And they won't freeze it if it's
No, if they're not going to be in the hold longer than 10 days,
Yeah.
they won't freeze it.
Yeah.
16 days, they freeze the first 2 days.
Gotcha.
But I mean, you get a 200-pound fish, man, and you're up at 350, something like that for one fish.
For one fish.
You get 10 of those, that's like $3,500 to me. My math isn't too good.
You're spending more on that
You know,
than the trip.
Yeah.
You know, my dad always said, you know, being on boats, my brother and I always having fish around. He said, give it all away. He said, give it all away. I can remember having, in the old days where we had freezer paper and you go in the freezer and we'd have it dated on the white freezer paper, you put it in the freezer, and then one day he went in there and he looked at a date, it was 2 years old. He brought a trash can in there, emptied out that freezer, says, you know what, from now on, give everything away. Give everything away, let everybody enjoy it while it's fresh. And he was right.
Yeah.
He's right. And even more so now, you know, because the quality of the fish is so much better now, especially the way they're cleaning them and they're bleeding them out. So you're getting high quality, and
So my question
Let
is,
everybody
how
enjoy
long
it.
does that stuff stay in the freezer? Fresh? I mean, a year
Well, that-
or?
I don't, you know, we used to try to give everything away,
Yeah.
you know, and even
I've
to
heard
this
people
day.
say a year or two, and
Yeah,
it's still great.
it
Oh,
can.
really?
I've got some precious fish some cabria that I caught a year and a half, almost 2 years ago now with Steve. You told me down at Bay of LA, and it's still, still delicious.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm probably pushing it. Start rotating some of that stock into
Yeah.
our diet. You
Well,
know,
I know the thicker the bag, the better.
yeah, the 5 mil bags.
5 mil.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, big difference.
All right, Peter Cepeda says, any thoughts on those Eddie Bomb sinkers for nighttime tuna? Those were only getting bit on my trip at night. No knife jigs. It looks like a squid, just a torpedo sinker.
Just a straight lead sinker. I got bit on one, and I couldn't believe it because it was the first time I rigged one, big treble, and I unbuttoned it. And this was like one of the first nights on the American Angler last year when we got out there. And I mean, we were bit every night, and it got ridiculous. But yeah, I got bit on that, and I couldn't believe it. You know, we got all these fancy 400 grain, you know, pretty ones, and they're all bent up. You know, rigged everything with bigger hooks and assist hooks and this and that. But that stinking piece of lead got bit.
What makes them go after that?
I don't know. I don't know. I know I got bit, and I go, I can't believe this. You know.
I was on one trip, I was using that brawler rig, you know, with the sinker on the bottom. I got a bite, I reel it in. I get the darn fish took my sinker. It didn't even take my bait. I was like, I'm using the wrong thing.
Yeah, and the sinkers aren't cheap anymore. They're
No.
not lead is like almost gold now too. So.
This all leads me
That's
to
crazy.
believe that if you can get any that getting whatever it is you're fishing with to the proper depth, in other words, getting it in front of their nose. I don't know if it matters. I mean,
Yeah.
as long as you got something in front of their nose and it's moving,
Yeah.
their instinct, I think, is that's something to eat. I'm going to eat that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you know, I've often thought, you know, we get hooked on colors and stuff, but you know, a plain lead sinker, explain that one.
Yeah.
So, you know,
There's
yeah,
no
it's
color to
the
that.
movement or whatever it might be.
I think
you
it's
know.
phosphorescence maybe in the
Could,
water.
yeah,
Little trail.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
We'll never know because we're not going to be down that deep,
That's
Gary.
right. I never asked one a
And I
tuna
don't care.
before.
Boy, you guys are not going to sign up for the next
No.
submarine trip to the Titanic?
Oh yeah, well that was boy. No, I don't think. Yeah. That was crushing deal,
Yeah, no pun intended.
huh?
Question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Peter Cepeda, what was the blank? Will said the sinker blank for the 25. He said a 670 or an 870. Am I right?
Yeah, those are some old numbers I remember, but like I said, it's been a long time since
Yeah.
I've been fishing all straight graphites for,
Yeah.
I don't know, 20 something years now, probably. So yeah, but yeah, I can remember for myself. I mean, Leon's 865s was my 25 go-to back in the. I think it's pretty much the same. You know.
So Gary, you think hitting the gym is a good idea for us old guys, huh? Well,
Well, anybody.
yeah, right.
Yep.
Weightlifting in particular.
Yeah, resistance type of, actually something aerobic too. Because when you find these fish for a long time, your heart rate's going up. You want to be in good shape. So yeah, both of it combined. And it doesn't have to be much. I mean, but you don't have to be bodybuilding or anything like that. But yeah, there are certain exercises you can help yourself out. Yeah, why not?
There you go.
Let's see. Zeno 1. After the trip on the Amigo, my new favorite color is all black on the knife jigs. Why not, right?
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Color
Unbelievable.
does seem to be, I don't know how important it is.
Well, then you look at the depth that they're going. There's really what? How much light is it? And you're at, and most
Yeah.
of it's night fishing anyway,
Yeah.
right? So, you know,
It's just,
yeah.
All right, Gary, what is your favorite fish to fish for? What do you like to fish for? And why?
actually, to tell you the truth, I really like catching calico bass. And why? Because there's so many different ways to catch them, and I just love the way they just fight. And I don't know. I think I was sort of brought up on that too, because my dad, he bought a boat years ago, and we ran our own boat, and we did many local fishing, horseshoe kelp and such. But I like catching bass. I mean, I love catching these tuna. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I'm trying to get as much as that in while they're still around. But I like. That's what I'm doing lately. But this year I did a little more bass fishing. I did a 2.5 day in the Apollo, so that's mainly island fishing.
Yeah.
So we
yeah.
didn't do any tuna fishing. And I signed up again another 3 day or next year on Father's Day in the Apollo. So it's gonna be all island fishing. And I'm gonna go back to my roots.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
there's
so
nothing
f-
like calico fishing.
Yeah,
All those years
so
of fishing
fun.
Clemente and Catalina.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll never forget that. Yeah.
You know, we hear about comfort food. People eat food from their youth because it makes them feel comfortable. And you say you want to go back to your roots. Is there a nostalgic feeling about fishing with your dad and maybe some
Yeah.
really great times you had?
Yeah, we had our boat. We went almost every weekend, and we would mainly fish horseshoe, kelp, Catalina. Yeah, brought a lot of good memories, you know. And I mean, back then calico bass were pretty plentiful because the kelp was really good. That was back in the 80s and 90s, so we caught quite a few of those fish. In fact, the one trip I really remember was with Norm Kagawa and the old Shogun, and we left from I think maybe it was just a landing here, maybe it was LA Harbor. In any case, we went all the way up to the deep hole, which no one even talks about it anymore.
Oh yeah, they
But,
used to be a
man,
hot
we
spot.
caught so many big bass. It was so much fun. Yeah, but I just love that bass fishing.
Oh yeah, yeah. The calicos.
They're
I
fun.
loved it too.
Norm was a big part of my life because when I got on the searcher, I was about 17. It was Norm and Leroy were the deckhands, so they took us under their wing, taught us a lot about fishing albacore in San Diego. My brother Paul and I.
Oh.
So I love Norm. Great guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I feel bad for poor Norm. Yeah, Norm and I played. Well, he played at Dorsey with us too.
Oh, did he?
He was a
Okay.
half a year older than I was.
Yeah.
Dave was a little bit older, and he was already fishing with Frank, on the long range stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then Norm came in underneath in the system and he was just like me. He went to SC, gets his degree at SC, and goes into sport fishing. I went to UCSD
That's right,
because it was
yeah, you
close to
did.
San Diego, it was close to Point Loma, and I went into sport fishing. My dad wasn't real thrilled, but he knew that that's where I probably belonged in the end.
Yeah,
so
but you were
it
highly
was good.
successful. You did very well.
If you're doing what you love, it's not work.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
So
I
That's
know.
true. You got to
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
yeah,
your
and
life's miserable.
and then you'll take it to a different level too when you're
Yeah.
you're into that much.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that I'll watch. This morning I'm watching a Bassmaster thing, and I'm watching these kids fish. And I think I mentioned it before. Now they have these scanning units on these bass boats, but here it's 2023,
Oh.
and we were utilizing scanning sonars in 1980, 81, right? So our perception of what we saw, even on the lakes, was different from what these kids are now, you know, and then the tackle. And I'm watching these kids, and ththese kids on these tournaments, so they're making a lot of money on these tours, right? And some of them really don't know how to fish that well. I mean, I'm watching them high stick and do these things, and I'm going, are you kidding me? You know, rather than come down, whine, and stick them and keep the front, like we just talked about, keeping the pressure on them. You know, I don't know if they're doing that for sensationalism, but when you're up here and you got no leverage and no power, the fish can go all over the place, and you can lose fish like that. So it's not, to me, it's not a very a good teaching tool to show people on TV. I get critical with that because I would lecture my clientele, you know, my passengers on that too. Okay, keep it down. You got more pressure on them. You can control the fish.
It's such a natural thing to do this, though. you know?
Oh yeah.
Especially
It's amazing.
especially the way the fish are these, especially the old school. We always did that. Remember?
Well, you know, we're using a fiberglass rod that it would just keep bending, right?
It was like a noodle.
But and really, you the higher you go, the less pressure you have, right?
Yeah.
So even with a noodle with no pressure, you're hardly doing anything as far as getting that hook into them. So why, if you could point it and stick them from here to here, you've got 10 times more pressure and hook setting power.
Yeah, you're better off just winding up.
Yeah. So I'm watching these guys on TV and the big money tournaments, and I'm going, God, these, you know, and they're showing the people really the wrong way to fish. But you know, what do we know?
I know.
Yeah.
All right, Steve Bermudez is back. I think he's trying to spell damn, D-A-M-E, damn drunks. I've accused him of drinking too much tequila tonight. But it could be that he's taking a swipe at my team, Notre Dame. So maybe Notre Dame drunk, something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. One of those two. Cue Ball is getting ready to jump on the El Dorado. So I know you boys are going to wish him well, but he's watching
You're gonna
the
get him.
show from Long Beach Sportfishing.
There you
Ready
go.
to go. Cue Ball, best of luck, Danny.
Oh,
Any
yeah.
words of advice for him?
Yeah, get them. You know? No, you're good guys on there. You can't beat the Eldo boys.
Yeah.
You know, Butchie and all those guys. Whoever's running the boat. But I mean,
I think he's on there,
then you're in good shape anyway. You know, go get them. You will.
And they're buying pretty good now.
Oh
anyway.
yeah.
Oh my
And
God.
they're
Yeah. Where's my, hold on a second. Let's see, just from today, what I've heard, tribute, these are San Diego boats, limits of bluefin, 21 yellowfin, highliner, 9 guys, 45 yellowfin tuna, Mexican limits. Pacific Queen, 3.5 day trip, 120 bluefin, 55 yellowfin. The Pride right here, 9 guys, 36 bluefin, 22 yellowfin. Aztec, 106 on the yellowfin tuna. Wow!
Yeah.
Those are some scores.
Yep.
Especially considering your quality. Oh, awesome.
You know, I see a lot of business in your future.
That's right.
Because tomorrow night at 6 p.m. the lobster season opens.
Oh, that.
And I imagine guys pulling those nets do screw themselves up.
I've done that before on the Triton. It's like, holy cow. I'm glad we're only 60 feet deep.
I did that too, and I got hurt.
Yep.
Pulling traps with Junior, buddy. Yeah.
That's the,
Same thing. I go.
I say buy the motor thing, whatever.
Yeah, really? Hydraulic system, something, but
Yeah, no.
the old back's not
Come
cutting
on,
it.
Gary, you were just saying lift weights.
I
mean,
know.
That's, you know.
Well, it's good. It's good for business.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, my friend and I do, we tag team each other. So he's behind me. We go, okay. We just keep pulling.
Perfect.
Less stress on ourselves.
Oh
All
God.
right, Mitchell says, hope everyone has a safe lobster opener tomorrow. You know, with all the boats out there for the opener, and you're out there at night, it's kind of a dangerous. You got to be careful, right, Danny?
Yeah,
Whenever
yeah, but
on the water at
you're
night.
generally in different areas. You know, you're inshore, you're along the kelp bed. I mean, some of the guys I can remember going out in a little deeper water. You know, but yeah, no, it's you always have to be careful. Make sure you got your running lights and everything on, deck lights when you're pulling, and so people can see you. But I don't think you're going to be in any of the travel, travel areas, thoroughfares and stuff. So you should be all right.
Yeah.
All right, Omar's taking your advice here. He's saying he loves to fish. He'd love that to be a part of his life. How does he start in this business? What does he do? What's the, 1, 2, 3 steps?
Omar,
that he
how
takes?
old are you? Get back to how old are you? But if you're young, I mean, even if you're old, I mean, if you love doing it, it's not going to be work. And Taka gave me a saying one day when we told the kids, he says, eyes open, ears open, mouth shut, okay, and really do the observing and watch. I mean, yeah, obviously the crew is going to tell you to do things, how to pull the anchor. They're going to tell you some of the safety things that you have to be cognizant of, but we're doing it. I never regretted any of it, starting from the ground level, because you learn everything. you know. But going on to one of the boats and asking for a job, you're going to find out right away whether you like it or not, And if you're good with the passengers, that's even a much bigger plus. You become a great asset to the crew, and that's a big part of it down the road too. So good luck with that. But I mean, we need more blood in this industry, and it's funny because I was planning a show on that with one of the young kids that met at school, and one of the things we're having a tough time too is supplying second tickets and captains.
Oh.
Some of the trips have lost trips because they couldn't get second tickets on the boat, and that's kind of a crime to lose the revenue off of a trip, especially when they're biting like this,
Yeah.
because you don't have the licenses. So we want to implement that, and I still have a show down the road in my head for doing that too, because that's something our future needs, and for our industry,
Yeah.
we need to implement.
You could bring some young blood.
Exactly, exactly.
Do you guys fish with your kids very often or not?
About the only time we go is when we're up in the Sierras,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Not too much trout. Alexis.
Yeah,
tuna
my
fish
daughter is. Well, my one daughter, she gets sick.
So that'll ruin it right there.
Sierras.
I took my younger daughter out one time. She was really good. She had perfect form, just catching all these bass. But she got really bored. She gets her iPad and starts, hey, we're fishing here. What are you doing? It was funny. But no, even my when we had our boat, my whole family they all got seasick except for my dad and I.
How about wives? Do they like to fish? My wife would rather walk on broken glass than fish.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I can tell you, I took Gail on one of the best calico bites I've ever seen at Clemente. So we anchored up on the front side, and we were done very early, and I had to tail it back here to 22nd Street because I didn't want to be over limit too much. And so we left early. As we're passing Catalina, Gail wakes up and says, "Okay, I'm ready to fish." I go, "You're ready to fish? We're done. We left Clemente an hour and a half ago."
And we're gone.
So
Yeah.
but Gail likes the Sierras. She's been with me on tuna
Yeah.
trips and stuff, but that's not her forte. She likes going up to Mammoth and stuff, going up to the Sierras.
I know
Yeah.
when we had our boat for years, my wife was the deckhand. She was pretty good at it too, handling all the ropes and everything. And I did take her on the 3-dayer on the holiday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
Cool.
she really liked that.
Oh,
Got
that's
a bunch
cool.
of yellowtail and such. But that's when you could fish San Martin Island. Can you still fish
yeah.
that? I don't know.
I don't think so.
Not too
I
much.
don't
There
think
was
so.
some-
There's a lot of stuff
Yeah.
inshore, I mean, Cedros is gone now and
Yeah.
everything's on there. Yeah, I remember
Guadalupe's gone.
Yeah.
Guadalupe's
There
gone,
was
yeah.
some problems with some of the long range boys and some of the locals down there, and
Oh,
I'm not sure that it was officially banned, but maybe SAC said, it's probably better you
yeah.
don't fish
Yeah,
there anymore.
yeah. Yeah,
Something
that's
like
sad.
that, for sure.
That's sad. That was a great place. So.
All right, Mitchell says, the guys that are free driving hopes that they are safe on the lobster opener. Jeremy, good evening, fishing friends. Stimulate says, hey, I get bored catching bass too. He doesn't like catching bass, so somebody else got bored catching your daughter, right?
My
With the
daughter,
iPad?
yep.
One thing about bass fishing for me is that it's just constant action. Where it's like you hook a big bluefin tuna, get one on the trip, you're stoked, but bad. You might do that 50 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love calico fishing. I just don't do it enough anymore,
Well, there's been so many boats where I see the captains, they get so jazzed when they're catching calico bass.
Oh.
I mean, I was on the Pride with Sean on one trip, and we were both in the bow throwing iron, and he always has so much fun just hooking those
Oh,
bass.
yeah. That's the ultimate. Get
Yeah.
him on there, yeah.
Yeah.
How do you
Yeah.
like Sean? I mean, that guy fishes hard.
Well, when we had a little meeting up in the bow, he warned us, we're gonna get to the Santa Barbara like 3:30, and I don't want you no one's sleeping. We're all fishing, because we never know when those fish are going to bite. He's pretty hardcore. He went from there to Clemente back to the I think Catalina. I mean, we're all over the place. This is only a day and a half too.
Wow.
Yeah, so,
That's tremendous effort
oh yeah,
expended there.
He's that's
That's
a lot
awesome.
of effort.
Yep.
So Omar, you asked him his age. He's 33, and he says, "I'm probably too old." No way, Omar. Right, Danny?
No,
He
not
can be
at
a
all.
captain when he's less
Absolutely,
than 40.
absolutely. Listen, if you love doing it, don't look back 10 years from now and say, God, I wish I would have done it. At least go for it and do it, because
Yeah.
those are really some of the best days of my life, you know. And yeah, it was. Sometimes I worked a 20-hour day, but you know what? It didn't matter. It just didn't matter because I just loved my fishing, and it transitioned into everything else I did. And after doing that too, everything else in life was easy. After working the 20-hour days and stuff, you know,
yeah.
everything else became easy. But it was not work because it was my passion too at the same time. And, you know, I never stopped learning. You know, I told myself if I can't learn something new every day, I'm not looking hard enough, and that's true.
Yep.
You know.
You're so right about the work ethic that you get those 20-hour days. When I went to China, there were literally foreign teachers who were griping because we had to teach 2.5 hours a day. And they're like, they want us to teach 3 hours now. And I started looking around, and there was some opportunities to start your own school and stuff, and I go, oh, this is going to be easy. Yeah, there's nobody here who wants to work. And I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I can outwork anybody pretty much, except you guys.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, the work ethic, it's just like,
Oh yeah.
you know, a 12-hour day is like a day off.
Yeah.
You know, and we were blessed because our crew, they all had the same mentality. We all loved to fish, and we did, you know. And I would tell the kids, you know, if you get tired, and if you're on the wheel, get me up.
Yeah.
Don't even hesitate. Get me up, you know. But I mean, that's something, you know. After doing all that, everything else in life after being on boats seemed a lot easier, you know. But yeah, I don't regret any of it. Yeah.
All right, Tim Marquez says, hit that like button. Let's get this to 50. Come on. If you guys don't get this to 50, I'm going to shut this show down. You won't have these two fine gentlemen anymore. Kevin says, when you use rail rods for bluefin using slow pitch and knife jigs, is the reel up a few times and drop more effective, or sweeping the rod tip up and dropping the tip on slack?
I am the wrong guy to ask. I'm not a slow pitch guy. I'm a genuine old school rail, you know, hang them and put it there. You know, my age of, I'm not doing all this, you know.
Yeah, that's too
But
much
yeah,
work.
yeah. But, you know, God, who is it? Who's our king with that?
You know, Brian Wynn.
Brian Wynn.
Brian Wynn's on it.
Brian, you got to check Brian's videos out. You know, he's,
Yeah, I think he
he's
talks
in it.
about that on some
Yeah,
of our videos.
yeah,
I'll try to post
yeah.
one on our Facebook page, Kevin, later tonight. We've had some slow pitch guys on the show, and I'll get some slow pitch guys, some more guys. So
There you go.
we'll take care of it. Jeremy says 33 isn't old. Do it while you're still young. Hell no, it's not too.
Oh, no, no.
Yeah, I mean,
You know what's worse? Is 10 years from now, you didn't do it and you regret not doing it now.
Yeah.
You can't get it back.
hey,
You know.
Yep.
you know, and Jeremy and Omar, I'll just say this: how old are you? We got this podcast.
How old am I?
You're 70.
I'll be
almost
70 in a couple of
66.
years. Absolutely.
We just started
Absolutely.
this thing, so
Yeah, and trust me, that makes me much more susceptible to visit Gary every time I go fishing now. But it's worth it.
all right, Stimulate. He's 43 tomorrow. Stimulate. Happy birthday, my
Hey,
friend.
there you go. Happy birthday.
He's already accumulated plenty of those. Wish I would have regrets. Hey, don't regret those, man. It's just part of the learning process, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I used the same line on my mom, and it didn't go over too well when I dropped out of law school. I'm not enjoying it, Mom. I'm just not feeling it. And so I dropped out. She wanted to strangle me for about 30 seconds. And then she said, I don't want you doing something you don't want to be doing. So,
Yeah, you know, and they get that. It's like when I went home and I had those 2 job offers after I got out of UCSD, and my dad said, "So which one did you pick?" And I go, "Neither." He says, "So what are you going to do?" I'm going to go work as a deckhand. He goes, "Yeah, right. You're going to go work for $40 a day in tips." I said, yeah, pretty much, and that's what I did. But you know, he had that sour look, but I think he knew.
Yeah.
My dad knew. It was in my blood. He knew it. So,
What,
and everything
what
worked
was your
out.
major in college?
Economics, sociology, yeah.
How about
yeah.
you?
Used to San Diego.
Well, it was mainly a pre-med biology.
I started out there, but I had to work too hard. I'd go for the
Man,
mixed
I
stuff.
got the soft major over here, history major over here, man.
Hey, we need you guys.
Yeah, right. Nowadays, you actually do, right? They'll look back and say, hey, guys, we're heading in the wrong direction there. We've been there, done that.
They don't teach history anymore.
I
know,
That's
man.
true. That's true.
Yeah, I started out pre-med.
Oh, did
You know, chem, and by the time I got to biochem, I said, no, thank you. I have a granddaughter that tells me that. No, thank you. You know, well, that was it.
Omar wants to know where to get a lobster card anywhere they sell a fishing license, like beautiful 22nd Street Landing in San Pedro, California, 310-832-8304. Oops, I don't know why I did that. It just happens that way. Whenever I say 22nd Street Landing. Kevin said, hey, I phrased that all wrong about fishing slow pitch. He means just the normal rail rod fishing. Do you typically fish the jigs looking to get into rail rod fishing but don't have a lot of information on? You fish jigs? Rail rod just means, I mean, you can hook a fish on the bait and be using a rail rod,
Well,
right?
you could fish different levels of railroads, you know, depending on the size of the fish. If you're getting smaller fish, you know, you fish a 50-pound rod or so and you scale down on your jigs, you know. So it really depends on your target species. You know, the crew and the captain will probably keep you informed. They'll know whether you're going into bigger fish, and they'll tell you, hey,
Yeah.
fish are 100 plus, you know,
Yeah.
or, you know, there's smaller, medium and smaller fish, school-sized fish. You can fish your 40, 50, or whatever, you know, because
Yeah.
and nowadays I would hedge to the heavier line, a little bit heavier line, because you never know when, you know, nicer
So slow
units.
pitch jigs, the rods, you probably have two different types, right? Daytime and nighttime.
I hope so, because I've seen the whippy things you
Oh,
use,
yeah.
and I couldn't do it, yeah.
Yeah.
But they're not high sticking, they're just pointing the rod at the fish pretty much like
Yeah.
you recommend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, you have to,
Yeah.
because those things are, you
Right.
know, on
Spaghetti.
yeah,
Yeah.
you have to.
All right, 540 Slinger. That's our buddy Jeff Yeomans. Jeff, thank you for your service as always. Looking forward to getting out of the water this weekend with Captain Sean Roberts and the Pride crew. So he's got a trip with those guys.
Yeah.
They
Yep.
always do really
Good
well.
deal.
Yep, you do well.
Jeremy,
Yep.
get on it before your pack goes out, the knees start clicking, and the shoulders start hurting. So it's kind of a young man's game, isn't it? You look at,
It is, but I mean, there's some guys. I mean,
like
I looked
Mark
at
Sonata.
yeah, and I looked at
I can't-
Eddie
he's-
McEwen back in the old
Oh,
days. I mean,
yeah.
there were guys that were around for a long,
Yeah.
long time too. You know,
Yeah.
but it's brutal. It's tough.
Yeah.
It is a much younger man's game.
It's very physical.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, Kevin says, so nighttime jig fishing, would you just drop to the depth the captain says to? And if you don't get bit on the fall, do you basically just reel it up and drop it again, working the water column? You work that area, tell me if I'm wrong, where the fish are. So the captain's going to tell you 300 feet. And you're going to have metered line that changes color every 100 feet, so you know exactly when you get to 300. Maybe you drop to 350, and you work up to 300, then you kick it in free spool and drop it again. Am I getting this right? You don't wind it back to the surface.
No,
Because
you
there's
want to
fish.
you want to keep it in the zone.
Yeah, you want to keep it.
Well,
in
especially
the
if he's
zone.
metering fish the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Kevin, it's super important that you get to the right depth, and there's no better way to do that than metered line, right?
Metered line. You know, before they had the colored line and meter stuff, I was doing it like we did with our fly lines. You know, when I was fly fishing, you mark it with mark-a-lots. You know, so I put like if it was and see, coming from fishing boats, I did everything by fathoms. So I would mark my line every 10 fathoms, so 60 feet. So 60 feet, I put one mark. At 120 feet, 20 fathoms, I put two. And so by the time I get down to about 4 marks, I'm down at, 240 feet and then 300 feet. But I mean, you have it marked off like that. So, but I have to sit there and have to look at the markings on the line as it's going out.
Oh, yeah.
It's just white spectra with these.
So I use
Flashes.
alternating black and red. So the first 100 feet is black. Then, just to remind me, the red's going to be 200 feet. Then the next black's going to be 300. Then 400 is red. because I start losing count of the black marks. Maybe I'm just old. I don't know. I keep go, what the heck?
Yep. Yep.
All right, Stimulate says, I was the same. Did my pre-med, ended up not going through with my med school acceptance. Guess it worked out in the end. Been retired for several years now. Yeah,
There you go.
I mean,
Yeah.
God or whoever, you take different paths in life, right?
Yep.
You know, college was there really to keep me out of Vietnam because if
Oh.
you know, there was still draft going on. If I was out, you're susceptible to draft. And you know, all these guys would say, "Oh, you go up to Canada." I go, "Yeah, right. Go up to Canada." I had 4 uncles, 3 go to Europe and 1 in MIS, and the others were in the 442nd. My dad did 2 tours in Korea. It says, "Yeah, I could run up to Canada, but when my uncles and my dad catch up with me and beat me, it'd be safer to be in Vietnam, I think." So I said, "Yeah." So I ended up I stayed in college, and the draft ended shortly after there anyway. So
Oh, thank
you
God.
know, yeah, yeah.
Your daughter Brittany says humanities. Did she major in humanities? Is that what it?
Yeah. Humanities. Well, she's an English professor,
Oh, really?
a teacher like you.
Uh-huh. Well, I bet she's a real teacher. I'm not a real teacher. I'm an entertainer. Brittany's way better than me.
There you go.
Is she a PhD when you say professor?
She has a master's.
Yeah,
So
okay.
she teaches at the Cal Baptist University.
Brittany, nice
Oh,
job.
that's awesome. Yep.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, when I was teaching and I started at school, I was the entertainer, and Shelly, my co-teacher, was the hardcore teacher. I kept the kids. The parents love me, the kids love me, and so
Yeah.
I'm sure Brittany's way.
Like always, Phil was the entertainment section.
That's right. Well, being never a boring class with him, right?
Omar says slow pitch seems like a fad. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, I don't think it's a fad. Do you? I mean, it's done around the world.
Oh,
so-
they've done it a lot, especially in Asia. They've been doing it for a long
Yeah,
time. It's very
Japan.
effective. Very effective. Yeah. Very
Brittany
effective.
has a great question. Brittany, maybe you should come down here and host this show.
Yeah,
for
right.
me. How many fishing rods do each of you guys have? 6 billion?
I'm not saying
Not close to Danny, that's for sure. I'd probably be like 30.
I don't know.
Well over 100.
Why, you know,
Well,
You know,
I've seen
over-
your arsenal before.
over the years, you know, it was funny. I mean, even as a kid, I had a pretty good arsenal, right? But then when I went on the boats, Leon took care of all my saltwater stuff, and Fenwick took care of all my freshwater stuff. So I had all the prototypes from Fenwick, from, you know, Kurt Dills and
Yeah.
Richard Hightower and these guys, all the reps. So I got all those, you know, so I can remember the first time Gary Loomis went into my garage, and between all my cow stars and stuff, there was over 150 saltwater rods back
Wow.
then, and they were mainly, you know, Sabre and cow star prototypes and
Yeah.
some of the others. But then when it started going into graphite,
Yep.
we went through the swap meets and they had to make room for all the graphite
gotta
stuff. So
unload
it's
that
all pretty
stuff.
much all graphite. Yeah, yeah. The only non-graphite rod I have is my grandfather's Calcutta.
Oh.
And so that's got to be, well, that's well over 100 years old. But
Wow.
that's my prize
But
possession.
Danny's he's
Yeah.
got a fishing house.
No, I know. Hey, Kevin says, thanks for the clarification. Kevin, thank you for asking the questions, man. We appreciate it. So for overnight, longer trips, should you bring earbuds or headphones connected to your phone alarm to wake you up for the night bite? I'm not really sure about the norm for longer trips. Well, you don't know when they're going to bite at night, so I don't know what you'd set your alarm for. My advice is find a crew member and say, dude, I can't keep my eyes open anymore. Here's my bunk. Please, here's $20. Wake me when they're chewing, or some other.
Yeah, yell hookup down in the bunk room. I mean,
Yeah.
I would do that, and trust me, I would get everybody up.
Yeah.
Because you don't know, that might be your only shot when they come up and chew at that particular time. So,
Yeah.
you know, when they're biting, you got to do it. You
Yeah.
got to be willing to suck it up. You get to sleep at another time, but I mean, you got to get the fish on board when they're chewing.
Especially at nighttime.
Yep.
All right, and Kevin apologizes for all the questions, to which we say thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
For all the
No.
questions, Kevin. Way
No,
to
that's
go,
what
man.
this is what it's all about. I
Brittany
mean,
says, yes, English, laughing out loud. Thank you. I love that. And Brittany says, gladly, she come down here. Stimulate. I got about 20. Wife thinks I got 10. There's a reason why I pay cash for those impulse buys, LOL.
Yeah.
I get He's
Yeah.
hiding it from the wife. Any
Yeah.
of you guys hide that kind of stuff from your wives that you're willing to admit here?
I don't
I'll
have
tell you a
enough.
story
No.
about me hiding something.
Yeah,
from my
yeah, go
wife.
for it. Go for it.
Well, it's a quick one. We went to Pachanga Casino. My wife really wanted to go, and I'm like a moron, just sitting in front of a machine, playing Keno on a machine. And I had $40 on me, and I didn't want to get any more cash, so I put 40 in, and I'm pushing, and she goes, I gotta go to the bathroom. And I said, okay, sweetheart. And so off she goes, and I push, and I go, whoa, 5 out of 5. What's that pay? $850. Boom. Put that in my pocket. She goes back. I go, hey, sweetheart, let me go get some cash so that you can have a more fun time. Hang on. Get the $850, put it in my pocket, hand her a few hundred. There you are, sweetheart. Have a great time. That's my dirty rat story,
well,
which I confessed to her later.
That's fair.
Yeah, thank you.
You still give her a little bit, right?
Yeah. Oh my God! Don't get me started on that. All right, do you guys honest with? Yeah, you are, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not going to get anything by her anyway. I mean, that's why we call her the warden.
Yeah, I know. I tell some of these. I don't actually talk to the wives, but some guys like tell me, "Oh my God, I'm in so much trouble." I think to myself, girls out there, wives out there, your husband could be into something way worse
Yep.
than going out and catching a dumb fish.
Yep.
So you should be encouraging.
Once my wife says, well, you're not going to the bars.
Right.
You're not gambling.
You're not chasing.
I mean, I'm with a bunch of men. I'm not
Right.
going to do anything.
Yeah, let's hope not, Gary.
That's right, yeah.
All right, very good. Brittany, wow, 100. And I thought my dad had a lot. You should do an episode on Danny's fishing house tour. We should do that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're
You
gonna
know.
do that.
Yeah, we got some history in there.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
I took a lot of stuff over. You know, I gave it to Joey. I mean, like my grandfather had the real deals, the first mechanical 2-speeds. They were
Oh, yeah.
they were done, even the box and everything. But I, donated a lot of that stuff for like museum pieces.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's not going to do me any good in my shed. To be shown off to all these guys because there's a lot of history to this. And
Yeah.
it just goes to tell you about Southern California. Here, I can't even tell you what year the real deal was. We'll have to look that one up, Phil. But think about how Southern California fishermen implemented a gearbox to speed it up to 2-speed. I don't know, in the 50s, 60s. I don't even know exactly when, but we'll have to check on that
Yeah.
date. But we were so far ahead of the country, and still are. Like I said, I watched Bassmaster thing this morning for a couple minutes, and I had to turn it off. I just look and I'm going, oh my God, these guys, they're high sticking. They're using, they've got a thing that's like a sonar now that sweeps.
Yeah.
But I look at it and okay, well that's great. This is 2023. We were implementing that, in 1980.
Yeah.
So you think about how that's state of the art, maybe in many parts of the country, but out here our mentality is, again, we're 40 years ahead of them on a lot of the stuff, So not to be arrogant about it, but it's just that's our mindset, and it's not me. It's you, it's all our fishermen. I mean, I could tell you, all these guys on the channel right now probably are listening to pick up different things, but these are the people that innovate things, techniques, technologies. I credit our people here in Southern California. They have a lot to do with aerospace, and the jobs that we do. They're in Hollywood or Disney or JPL Aerospace. They don't think the same way the rest of the people in this country think.
Yeah.
We're at a different level, and it's not to be arrogant, but I will tell you that our fishermen are definitely at a different level.
Especially the live bait.
Oh, and I've
No
done
one
that.
fishes live bait like
Yeah.
we do.
And I've done that because I fish with guys around the country, notable fishermen, and they're just amazed that there's different things, and they get set in their ways. And my whole thing, I guess, from being a skipper, is the key is to see what's working. So I have the blessing of being able to look at 20-something, 30 guys and watch to see what's working and to figure that out.
Yeah.
Through that, implemented in my bass fishing, my fly fishing, whatever it is, every aspect. But it has to do with watching and learning from what you're seeing, and so many of these different areas, different sports. And I saw some of the worst guys were the fly guys. You know, I only want to get them on a dry fly. Well, guess what? They don't always eat a dry fly. There's times when they're eating a wet fly, you know, and that's it.
You gotta be
You
willing
got it's
to.
yeah, and it's about figuring it out.
Yeah.
And I literally had a guy at a fly show say, you know, I would rather sip fine wine at a luxurious lodge in Montana than catch fish. And I just said, well, that's because you don't know how to fish, you know. and you see that mentality. I saw that mentality. I saw guys only want to catch them on a dry fly when they're eating nymphs. It's about figuring it out. I don't care what type of fishery you're in. It's about figuring it out.
And what works one time won't work the next time.
That's right.
That's
And
what-
you got to be able to recognize that
Yeah.
and change.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where our fishermen here, all you guys that are listening, you're at a different level, trust me, than the majority of the people in the country.
Yeah.
And just the fact that you're on asking questions and actually giving us things in our head, you know, from your experiences, that's huge.
It is.
That's huge. It's a huge deal, you know, and my credit to all you. Yeah.
Omar wants to know, do you have any thoughts on all the cheating in these walleye tournaments?
Yeah.
Man, I could tell you some jackpot stories from back in the day. I'm sure you could too.
You know, there's some that were just ridiculous, ridiculous on the old days. I'm talking about probably the 50s and you know, where these guys would have a big calico in the bait tank, and it'd be sitting in there for 4 or 5 days. You know, it turns pure whitish with a little tinge of brown to it.
The head falls
The head
off.
falls.
Yeah.
They pull it up on the scale, the head falls off and rips off because it's so rotted out.
Oh my
But you know,
gosh.
I mean, what do I think about them? I've got no use for people that are going to cheat. To be honest with you. You
Yeah.
know? So
Whenever you have sizable money, you're gonna find guys that are.
it'll bring out the worst in people.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, it will come back. Here's the thing, and it's something that drove me when I was fishing those big fish. You know, to do it consistently, you have no problem. Because I could take guys out on a TV show and do it. I said, give me a couple days, we could probably get one over 10, you know, because the methodology is pretty sound.
Yeah.
And the way we're approaching that. But there's people that they've only caught that one fish and they never could replicate it. Well, you know, you become a little more, I'm not saying they're cheating, but you become more suspect, you know, that they come out of nowhere. Or how about guys that would hang back at the launch ramp and they'd have why would you have a 4-pound and a 2-pound rod in there when you're chasing big bass?
Yeah, that's a
You
little
tell
suspicious.
me, you catching bait, you know. Well, being a saltwater skipper, I could see that immediately. And some of those guys never were ever able to replicate another big fish because they couldn't do it in front of riders, and that's why I made it a point to take out TV guys and riders to show that it was a solid, you know, methodology in catching those things. Where
Yeah.
these guys could never do that because they were doing it illegally. You
Yeah.
know. So yeah, shame on them. But it comes
I
back
know.
to bite them in the end.
Yeah,
You know,
it does.
you got somebody that's looking over us and that we follow
Yep,
his commandments.
a little higher source.
It's a higher source, and that's, you know, I stay with that.
Yeah.
I believe in that.
All right, Stimulate says, wife asked why I need so many reels, so I asked her why she needs so many pairs of shoes and handbags. She leaves me alone after that.
Yeah, I would probably get a pair of shoes thrown at me if I. You know.
Tim Marquez says, I just tell my wife I bought a purse. Good job, Tim. I love it. Omar says, we need a SoCal fishing museum, sport fishing museum.
You know, we were trying to implement one, and we were putting one together, but it became a liability because it would probably become a target of some theft, so we had to be careful. But I had, like my grandpa's Real Deals, and if you guys don't know, it was like the first attached 2-speed transmission that was put on the reels. I still had the box and
I've never
everything.
seen those.
Yeah, well, you know, I've got it. Joey's got it, you know, but we were gonna put together a thing. But then we don't want his place getting to be a target
Yeah.
of theft, you know. So,
Yeah.
but you know, maybe we can get one put together, you know, and get
Yeah.
it secured and everything else one day. That'd be a neat deal.
Yeah,
you
it
know?
would be.
Yeah.
Gregory Wilson says, my dad always said you can't get into too much trouble with a fishing rod in your hand when people would complain about their kids getting into trouble. That's true.
That was me.
Yeah, me too.
I could very easily gotten in trouble if I didn't, you know, because I love fishing more than anything else. That's what kept me out of the goofy side.
Well,
the
gets you off
trouble
the
side.
street, you know.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Jim Shelton wants to know, hey, when the bite's picky on the yellows at the island, what do? What's a way to combat that?
Generally, the first thing to do is you got to drop down in line size, folks. Drop down in line size, hook size, scale it
Yeah.
all back, making sure you got the right baits. That's the other thing too. You got to find
Oh,
out what they're
yeah.
eating. You know. Yeah. So it goes through a scaling thing. You go through a process of elimination with that, or with any fishing, to be honest with you.
Omar said no one's going to go to that fishing museum because they'd rather be out fishing. It's kind of a funny
That's
one,
me too.
right, Steve?
I would too.
Wethead 178. Is there a fish you lost that you wish you could go back in time and catch? That is a great question, Wethead.
I've got
there
a
one
few.
that bugs you to this day?
Well, that one, the croupier, it doesn't bug me because I know how much it weighed, and that was 20.3. But I dumped one at Casitas with Corky Yokoi,
Oh, okay.
and that one I think was the biggest fish I hooked. You know,
That's a big fish.
that I think that was over. That would have been over the 20 something, 20, 21, 22. It was big.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things, people, it's no different from getting a big tuna at the boat. It came up to the surface, it was just subsurface a little bit, and it started to turn over. And in my head, what do I kick it in free spool, come back on, and then easily come back onto it, or just keep steady pressure on it? And I kept steady pressure on it, and I pulled the hook.
Oh.
And some of you may have heard me when I pulled the hook back here in LA, and we were at Casitas.
You're probably
But I
screaming.
mean, yeah. But I've had my shots. But that one was one that in my head.
What about saltwater? What about?
Oh, I mean, there's stuff I didn't see.
Oh,
It just said "C'est la vie,"
yeah. Just
you
keep
know.
on going.
Yeah, and you go, huh? That was a good one, whatever it
It
was.
was.
Maybe it was a great white. I don't know. But yeah,
How
yeah.
about you, Gary?
Well, I had a sad story. I was on Mark Wish's charter on the rail time, and we had chartered and we were doing sea bass fishing, and we were at the West Cove, and I had a angler error. I was in a real hurry. I tied a lousy knot.
Oh,
So I'm fighting this big sea bass, and it pulls off, and that's what I saw was a curlicue.
oh,
And
ouch.
I saw the fish flat. It was like 5 feet long. It was huge. And I still remember Mark Wish got so mad. He just climbed up on the fly bridge. After that,
You didn't get your dikes out real quick. Go snip.
that's right. But yeah, that was a heartbreaker.
Oh,
But ever
yeah.
since then, that was back in the 90s, but I've never tied a bad knot after that. Learned my lesson.
Oh yeah.
All right, Brittany's back with another great question. Is there a dream bucket list fishing trip you want to go on? I know my dad has a crazy one. Oh, I want to hear all about that, Gary. How about you guys? Gary, what is it?
Well, I want to go to the Azores. I want to know the marlin. They're average
Oh,
about
the big ones.
750 pounds.
Yeah, those are huge.
That guy Anthony Shea from the Bag Company, I mean, he just nailed a bunch of them. But that was one of my dreams to try and hook and land one of those big marlin.
Holy smokes, that's a whole different world.
How
Yeah.
about you?
That's a
Danny?
whole different world. I used to go to Hawaii to fish, but nothing of that magnitude.
Yeah.
Marlin with my uncle over there, but I go by like Steve. You told me, and traveling with him and going down to Guyana and fishing. I got the big arapaima, and that was a blast. Peacock bass, and that was tremendous. And these different areas that he goes down to all over the world. He says one of the baddest fish, in his opinion, and I highly regard what he says. He says the Papua New Guinea bass. He says it's one of the toughest fish for its weight, And he told me that's your fish. And I said, yeah, that's cool. I mean, there's some places. Here's the thing: there's some places in Papua New Guinea that still have tribes where they have cannibalism.
Oh,
And I could just see him looking at me going, hey, man, that guy right there, we could eat on him for a couple days. And I'm going, I'm going to wait, Steve. I'm going to wait a little bit. But no, he's never steered me wrong. And he's got his operations, travel stuff dialed in so much. In fact, we're going to do a new one next year, even down at Bay of LA,
Oh,
where we're
okay.
going to do a sleepover down on one of the islands
That
So we
should
can
be
go down
fun.
there, fish the Paqueta and the Cabrilla, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's just different where we sleep there, so you don't have the travel time, and you wake up there and you can fish the morning, and so you're going to get a
Oh,
different
yeah.
aspect of fishing
We
because
get more fishing time in too.
you get more fishing time,
Yeah.
and just that sleeping on the beach, cooking,
Yeah.
I guess, the fish the night before or whatever it might be. Yeah, I mean, it's just different. It was going to bring me back to being like a Boy Scout again or something,
Oh,
you know. But I mean,
yeah.
it's just different, and so those are the kind of things that get me excited.
Well,
Yeah.
You've been all over the place fishing.
It,
Now.
yeah, we've been blessed, I'll tell you, and it's fun. But you look at fishermen around the world, and I could look at a couple different areas where the guys really are astute, and they're the real students of it, you know. And I saw a lot of the real technical stuff when I was doing consulting stuff for going over to Japan for like fluorocarbons and some of the spectras, and they're unbelievable. They're
I've seen videos.
Yeah.
They're just ferocious.
yeah.
They just tear up your lure and take off.
Yep. So yeah, there's still bucket list things that
Yeah.
I've got on my list, you know,
Well, it's,
and I think that should be there for everybody. But yeah, if you plan on doing something like that, Steve's the best guy you can go with because he dials you in with, you know, what type of propellants you use, how you prepare your what clothes you take down, all the preparation and tackle and everything, and you got to have that down because when you travel that distance, you go that far.
yeah, you gotta make
You
it
can't.
count.
There's no stores down there that have that kind of equipment. So
That's true.
you got to have it all dialed in.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So
All right, your
That's
daughter
fun
Amber says Gary can fish anytime.
That's my wife.
Oh, your wife. I'm sorry.
Yep.
You can fish anytime. Yeah, she didn't care, right?
No, I
She
just
probably wants to get rid of you once in a while.
fact,
How long you been married?
30 years.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah,
my wife
see?
throws me out
we're
all
at
the time.
we're at 31. Yeah.
Actually, our
Thank you.
families are sort of similar.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, yeah?
Oh yeah.
Our oldest daughters are same age.
Yep.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Then
exactly.
I think your younger daughters, yeah, she's a little bit older than Emily, but yeah, we're
Holy
pretty
shit.
similar.
Yeah.
Amber sounds like a lovely person to spend your life with.
Oh yeah, she's awesome.
Omar
Can I-
says, what's the biggest fishing lesson you've learned from each other over the years? Great question, Omar. Have you learned anything from Danny?
Yeah, actually, one thing I learned
Kind
about
of a tough question, but
one thing I learned about Danny is bait selection, picking your good bait. Because I remember the albacore trips. Yeah, he was always hooked up with the best bait. But also I think mostly is he has so much fun fishing. He makes fishing fun. You know, people get so serious about fishing, they're not hooking up,
it
and
ruins it.
yeah, it ruins it. But it's fun to be lighthearted. But Danny, he always makes it fun.
You know what? That's probably even more important than catching them. To be honest, you know,
Yeah.
the camaraderie and the friendships and everything that we developed over the years. You know, I wouldn't trade that for anything.
Sometimes
There's no
you-
money on earth.
Yeah, because sometimes
Yeah.
you have a bad fishing trip, but if you had a good time with people,
Yeah.
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 it's not
That
so-
happens.
Yeah, sort of
Yeah.
like I don't know, equalizes a little bit.
Yep. Yep. That's
All right, Stimulate says he hooked a fish so heavy once and he thought he was snagged because the skiff he was in started circling the line, kept reeling. Soon, as I saw what looked like a 14-inch or foot wide head, just 2 feet under the surface, gone. Man, what was that? Do you have any idea? That sounds like something out of Jules Verne.
yeah. And where were you? I mean, because you know we've seen like I've been down in Mexico, you know, fishing the pond, and you hook some of the big pargo and stuff.
yeah.
Oh my God, they humble you quick.
Yeah,
They humble you quick. They're another one. Yeah. Yeah.
14-inch
Amazing.
wide head. That's pretty big.
All right, Chet Young.
Oh, we got Chet.
Chet's a great guy.
Oh my God.
He says,
Yes.
Aloha, Danny and Phil and Gary just got off the Pride today. Had the honor and pleasure of fishing with the master, Jimmy Lou, for a couple of days after 40 years back in the mid-'80s. We be in the 70 plus now. They're 70 years
He's
old.
right. And Chet's a great guy. We did a lot of stuff together. We did some fishing in Mexico, and he was doing travel stuff. Chet's awesome. He's absolutely awesome. And of course, Master Lou,
Yeah.
Jimmy Lou.
I saw Jimmy down here a couple months ago.
Okay, Jimmy fished with me every single week. He fished with 2 different charters. It was on a Sunday, fished with a group called Wally's, and fished with Boshy's group, one of my groups. His tackle box was on the starboard engine hatch every week. Now here's a guy that might be, 98 pounds soaking wet. And he was one of the first guys to do a big yellowfin, 300-pound plus, on a single speed reel. And Jimmy's 120 pounds sopping wet.
Wow.
It's all technique. One of the greatest fishermen I've ever seen. And I had the pleasure of being his captain for years. But how many guys, he walks on the boat, put his tackle box on. I'd walk over and flip open the tackle box. In the right-hand corner of his box, he had a new lure every single week. How many anglers go through that much effort to have a new bait in your tackle box every single week? I don't know a student, or not a student, he's the master, but having somebody that's that astute. And he's a great innovator. Here he was one of the early long-range guys.
Yeah.
Phil, you know Jimmy?
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw
What
him
is-
here a couple
right?
months ago.
120 pounds sopping wet, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay. He's one of the first guys to get those big 300s on a single speed.
Wow.
All technique. Just one of the best fishermen you'll ever see in your life. Yeah. So, I had the pleasure and blessing of, fishing with him every single week,
Wow.
So it was.
Now, did he rebuild reels and stuff like that, or is that the same Jimmy Lou?
He was great at everything, but I got some funny stories about him. He would, some of the gluing of the leaders and stuff together, with the super glue. He once did a seminar. He glued it, and he had glue on his fingers, and there was all stuck. His fingers were stuck together like this. So after a while, we'd say, "Hi, hey, Jimmy," and his big thing was, shut up, Cat Dota. Well, his nickname was Catfish Lou. Did we tell this story on here before?
Yes.
Okay, well, it had to do.
You want to tell it again?
Okay, I'm going to reiterate this.
Yeah.
This is worth it, folks. Don and I had the lease on Islandia for a couple years, and I had the Mustang of the Fortune over there. And it had to be a tough time of this particular year. It was good fishing, but it was a tough time. And so, if you had an albacore on the boat that day, especially in the morning, man, you got the skunk off the boat. You were living large, right? Mm-hmm. So what happens the night before is it's so slow, and I never used to go out to dinner, with these guys on the boat at that time. They took me to dinner, and what had happened before is Jimmy, he got the nickname of Catfish Lou, Catman Lou, and what it was they lured me away from. We went to a restaurant at Islandia. That's when I had the lease over there, and we were docked over there, and went to dinner. Come back, and the boat is decorated. It was called the Catfish Special. They took big banners and put it across the stern instead of Mustang. It said Catfish Special. They had all these catfish flags hanging from the gaffs and everything else. I walk up in the house. There's an ice chest, and I go, "Oh no!" I open the ice chest. Here's this catfish about this big.
Oh my gosh!
And we were all bass fishing at the time, so it was kind of taboo, and it was funny if you caught a cat, you get razzed for it, right? So when here's this cat in this ice chest, so we're laughing up, and we're in no rush because the bite is just dead down there in San Diego. It's really tough picking. If you had an albacore on the boat, you got the skunk off the boat, you were golden,
Yeah, you were
right?
good.
So we head out. And it's a tough day, and everybody's sound asleep in the galley. A lot of guys went down in the bunk room to go crash out, and we're trolling, and I look at Marty Tanaka, and we look at that ice chest, and I nodded my head, and so everybody's sound asleep. Jimmy had one of the only gold reels back in those days, and he was up trolling, so I just gave the nod, and Marty Tanaka they took that big catfish that was in the ice chest, reeled in Jimmy's line, peeled it back. Jimmy's sound asleep in the galley. They put it back out, put the clicker on it. I go, hook up what? Now, guys are flying out of the bunk room, right? Some of them barefooted. They're running out there, firing their chovies and everything, And Jimmy's winding this thing in. And he's kind of wondering, well, what the heck is this? And this catfish comes in, and we just start cracking up. And we were killing time because it's dead for the entire fleet, right? And so we're laughing it up, having a good time. So I said, okay, after 10 minutes or so, I said, all right, wind it up. Let's get going, guys. So we wind it up. They wind it up. I go up, fire up the engines. I put it in gear. I don't even go boat length. And I hear hookup, and I go, Oh my God, these guys are goofing around, right? But anyway, I pull the throttles back, put them in idle. I keep them running. I don't shut it down. And I look back, and here's a single Dorado jump in the stern. I go, hey, hopefully we got the skunk off the boat now, right? And so I'm going, great, this is awesome. So I go up there, and I don't know why. I shut the engines off. As I'm walking to the galley, we go umbrellaed. We just get umbrellaed completely. I mean, every rod out in the water is just bendo. And we had, I think it was a third of the entire San Diego count between H&M, Point Loma, Fisherman's, Seaforth, and Islandia.
Wow.
And on that group, and I had the right group. These are great, they're all great fishermen. So we smoked them. But that was Jimmy Lou's famous catfish stop. So we had T-shirts made and everything. And I mean, so you know,
He was
it's
like a
funny.
good luck.
Oh yeah. So I mean, it's a legendary stop. You know, we, like I said, I think we had a third of the entire.
So we should
count.
bring more catfish on
Yeah.
board, right?
But Jimmy Lou, he was the man.
Yep.
You know, but you know, he's unbelievable. Yeah,
Yep.
he's legendary. But that stop was a legendary stop thanks to him. You know.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
a good story.
Stimulate says he thinks maybe that big fish that we were talking about was a white sturgeon. Halibut, man, I haven't watched Dan Hernandez live for about a year since you guys have such a great show. So much more fishing information. While we appreciate you watching, Mitchell, Dan's been doing this a long time.
Yes,
He's a
he
good
has.
guy.
Yep, I've done
And,
shows with Dan.
yeah.
I've done several shows.
You worked with Dan
I
a
did
lot, right?
couple bass
Yeah.
fishing shows. We did actually did a show. I brought Gary Loomis when I first started representing Gary Loomis's equipment. We brought Gary down for the first time. We took him out and we did the Mustang, and at the time Mike Redlew was running the boat for us, and we went out and we had a full-on yellowfin bite where we went from, and I pulled out the lift poles so Gary and those guys can do a lift pole, and that just, I mean, their eyes, everybody's eyes got that big. It was so wide open that, you know, we were done real quick, but I at that time pulled out a fly rod, a 13-weight fly rod, and nailed the yellowfin on the fly. So we went from lift pulling to fly rodding,
Oh my
you know,
gosh.
plus the conventional fishing too. You know, so it was probably one of Dan's shows where I don't think you'd ever see a spectrum going from fly to lift pulling. You know, of course, if they're going to eat the lift pole, a fly is no big deal.
Yeah.
But just the fact that I had a fly rod available at the time, a 13-weight,
Yeah,
I nailed one
you
off.
don't
at
see
that
too
time,
much
too.
of those on the sport
So it
boats.
was fun, yeah. So we got that on film. It was all in the can, so it was pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, boys, we are 3 minutes away from a 2-hour show. I don't see any more
Holy
questions up
moly.
there. So
Woo!
why don't we wrap
be
this
able-
up?
you
and,
got it. We'll be able to
Gary,
catch
why
our
don't you
breath.
Talk about where we can find you, phone number. If we need some chiropractic, I'm coming to see you.
Okay.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, we're in Southgate. We're 10133 Atlantic. Phone number is 323-569-2727. So if you need any help, just give us a call.
Great show, Danny. You want to wrap it up? Go ahead.
Well, you know, I want to thank Gary. And like I said, he's, you know, all you guys, especially us older guys, he's a lifesaver. Don't hesitate because he knows how to deal with us fishermen.
And I want to thank Phil and Danny for inviting me. This is a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it was great.
Gary, you were
Thank
great.
you, Gary.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you very
Great
much.
show
Philip,
again.
You got it,
Thanks,
buddy. Thank
everybody.
you.
Hit that
Thank
like
you,
button.
everybody out there.
We'll see you soon.